tomorrow.
All right, Lee, have a fantastic Tuesday. It is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. At 9 o'clock, we say good morning now with a news update to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Foreign Affairs Minister says the British government is talking to themselves after legislation to rip up parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol was passed in the House of Commons last night. It will now face further scrutiny in the Parliament next month before it goes to the House of Lords. Some of those who voted against the bill are former British Prime Minister Theresa May, as well as Julian Smith, who is an ex-Northern Ireland Secretary. Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Coveney says it will take months to pass through all stages and has urged the UK to return to honest negotiations.
This is effectively the British government talking to themselves again on Brexit, ignoring friends and neighbours who are appealing to them not to take this course of action. Basically, every capital across the EU is saying to the British government, don't act unilaterally on this, don't break international law. You're going to force the EU into responding in a way that we don't want to have to respond.
Work is progressing to strengthen and enhance communication and governance links between Letterkenny University Hospital and the Ceuta University Healthcare Group. A number of on-site workshops have taken place, facilitated by EY, dealing with the future vision, mission and values for the hospital and Ceuta, as well as future governance and communications and engagement. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
They heard from staff who discussed current challenges and who worked together to develop a draft strategy to establish core principles and priorities that aim to strengthen the communication model for the future. Tony Canavan, CEO of Ceuta University Healthcare Group, says the strategy sets out how they will engage and communicate with staff, patients and other stakeholders, ensuring staff in the community are aware of wider changes and plans developed to drive sustainable change. Sean Murphy, Hospital Manager, Letterkenny University Hospital, meanwhile confirmed that a working group is developing a plan for a detailed roadmap to help develop structures, processes and culture to better support staff.
A Donegal County Councillor believes the North West deserves priority to be given to the N2A5 project. Councillor Albert Doherty is calling for clarity after the TII claimed the €1.1 billion funding for the development is insufficient to allow it to proceed. Councillor Doherty says that there can be no further delays.
Whether there's $4.4 billion in the period 26-30, will N2A5 be put in the long finger? To me, that shouldn't happen. We have Brexit. We have our Northwest City region with a mass similar to the fourth in the country, and we deserve priority with this project.
Weather now, rain will clear this morning with sunny spells and widespread heavy showers following for the rest of the day. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The strawberries and cream frappe and Belgian milk chocolate frappe have arrived at McDonald's. Enjoy the taste of summer with the McCafe iced range. Strawberries and cream until the 26th of July. Contains strawberry flavouring only. Belgian milk chocolate until the 6th of September. Not available on delivery. Participating restaurants only. Subject to availability.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. You're very welcome along to this Tuesday, the 28th of June's edition of the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. The lines are open for you right now. Planning to keep you entertained and informed, hopefully over the next 3 hours, but we want your views and your stories as well. 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. As we do each morning, invite you to watch the programme if it suits you, if it's your thing. You can do so by going to our website, highlandradio.com, watching your browser there. You'll see the links, or you can go straight to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or we're across our Facebook channels as well. Say hello, tell us where you're watching or listening from. Okay, let's look at the newspapers this morning, see what's making the news headlines. The Donegal Democrat this morning tells us that Fanad County Councillor Liam Blaney is the new Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council. The Fianna Fáil councillor was nominated by his party to replace Sinn Féin councillor Jack Murray. South Donegal Fianna Fáil councillor Micheál Naughton is the new last Cathaoirleach. Councillor Blaney was co-opted onto the council in 2003 as an independent Fianna Fáil councillor to replace his brother Niall Blaney, the senator, and then Donegal North East TD, who was forced to give up his seat on the council due to the abolition of the dual mandate. Councillor Blaney became a member of Fianna Fáil as part of the merger with independent Fianna Fáil in 2006. And the Rosnakill-based man comes from a rich political heritage, with his grandfather Neil Blaney, his uncle Neil T. Blaney and his father Harry Blaney all having served as TDs, councillors. Councillor Blaney said it was a great honour to become Caerloch. On to the Derry Journal now, and gratitude and saving lives for over 30 years is the headline, under which we read that an Inishowen volunteer who turned from rescued to rescuer with Lough Swilly RNLI has spoken of how rewarding his involvement with the organisation is as he collected a 30-year-long service medal. Seamus McDade from Buncrana was honoured at an RNLI event in Dublin at the weekend, alongside other volunteers who've dedicated decades to saving lives with the charity. Seamus's story of how he joined the RNLI is one of faith and gratitude, as he saw at first hand how important the Lough Swilly RNLI is to Inishowen. On to the Nationals now, and the Irish Independent, as well as all other papers today, features images of a Russian missile strike. It's on a Ukrainian shopping mall. We're told over 1,000 people were inside. It is obviously destroyed. And we'll read about that a little later on in the papers. But the story underneath that picture that I wanted to reference is that criminal penalties for domestic abusers will double under the government's new €360 million plan to tackle violence against women. The 5-year strategy will also see a doubling of the number of refuge spaces nationally from 141 to at least 280. And of course, here we know there are an awful lot of strains on refuge spaces here in Donegal, so we'll keep a close eye on delivery there. This will, though, even when it's increased to 280, still be far short of the 500 spaces required by international agreements given Ireland's population. Justice Minister Helen McEntee will bring the third national strategy on domestic, sexual and gender-based violence to Cabinet today. And it vows to have zero tolerance for violence against women and domestic abuse. Under the plan, the government will reform criminal law to increase sentences for common offences committed by domestic abusers and sexual predators. On to the Irish Times now, and they tell us that assaults involving young men increased by almost 80% compared with the same period in 2021 when COVID restrictions were in effect. The start of this year also saw fraud offences continue to rise sharply, a pattern which began during the pandemic. In its latest crime statistics release, the Central Statistics Office said there had been a 40% increase in assaults and related offences in the quarter one of this year compared with quarter one of 2021. Male victims aged 18 to 19 accounted for the largest increase in this category, rising from 516 to 919. Assaults involving male victims aged 45 to 59 increased by 52%, and those involving women aged 60 and over rose by 50%. Fraud offences, they went up 11% in the first quarter, but if the entire 12-month period to March 2022 is taken into account, it rose by 88% compared to the previous 12 months. And that would talk to a lot of the calls and texts and emails that we are getting from fraudsters, and it doesn't take an awful lot of us to fall foul of them for those figures to go up. Well, Paul Reid's on his way out. It's covered in all the papers as well. We'll take it from the Irish Daily Mail today. The CEO of the HSE, Paul Reid, shocked the government yesterday by handing in his resignation after 3 years in office and 2 years left on his €411,000 a year contract. His decision to quit came amid intense controversy surrounding a proposed reconfiguration of emergency services at Our Lady's Hospital, Navan, County Meath. Now, Mr. Reid was on national media on Sunday morning talking of the future, talking of reform, talking of plans for the HSE, and then on Monday he decided that he was going to announce that he was stepping away from the role. Now, it is widely reported that the row over the Navan Hospital didn't play into his decision, but it was just an interesting interview to give on a Sunday, talking of the future the day before you're about to announce your retirement, your resignation. But anyway, it's not connected, we're told. He's 57 and was appointed to the role in 2019 after a lengthy search effort to replace his predecessor, Tony O'Brien, tendering his resignation in the early morning. What I thought was interesting is part of the reason that he was employed was because he had reformed other sectors and areas that he'd worked in. And yet part of the reason he gave for not continuing in his role, I think, and I'm paraphrasing his statement, was that the HSE was going through a period of transition and he thought someone else might be best suited to take the reins in that regard. But I thought that's why he was employed in the first place. But anyway, referencing that attack in Ukraine in the Irish Daily Star, President Volodymyr Zelensky has blasted a barbaric Russian missile attack on a shopping centre in Ukraine, which left scores of civilians dead and wounded. At least 13 people were killed, 50 others injured in the crime against humanity as described by Zelensky. It's in Kremenchuk. It's in central eastern Ukraine. Mr. Zelensky declared, "It is impossible to even imagine the number of victims. It's useless to hope for decency and humanity from Russia." Ukraine's leader said the complex had been no threat to the Russian army and had no strategic value. He accused Russia's Vladimir Putin of sabotaging people's attempts to live a normal life, which make the occupiers so angry. Dmitry Lunin, head of the Poltava Regional Administration, which covers the city of Kremenchuk, called the destruction a crime against humanity. And all of this and the attacks on Kyiv, which happened for the first time yesterday in quite some time, it can't be a coincidence that this is happening as the G7 leaders were meeting. And it's clear that Putin, for whatever motivation, is trying to send a clear message to them. The Sun tells us today that almost half of all Irish adults have a mental health disorder and 1 in 10 have attempted suicide. I mean, do half of the people you know, would they express this? Do you feel that they are? It's a huge figure that half of us have a mental health disorder, and of course it's a broad spectrum. It can go from maybe mild anxiety to something much more serious. But the stark figures were revealed in a new study by academics from 3 top universities. The research by Maynooth University, National College of Ireland and Trinity College Dublin is based on a national representative sample of 1,100 adults and is the first of its kind here. It found 11% of people reported having attempted suicide at least at some point in their life, while 42% of adults met diagnostic requirements for at least one mental health disorder. I mean, the figures there are just absolutely unbelievable. It's not to say I don't believe them, by the way. I mean, they're absolutely shocking. Finally, the Irish Daily Mirror this morning. A major health warning has been issued about an illegal tanning product that users inhale or inject, risking a life-threatening anaphylactic shock. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever come across this, but I wanted to read it just in case you had and were considering taking it, because, of course, we're being encouraged away from exposure to the sun and sunbeds, and people might say, well, here's an option. It's a controversial self-tan. It's not authorised in Ireland, but the Health Products Regulatory Authority has said that many people here have suffered serious side effects. These include moles, vision loss, stroke, muscle tremors, and anaphylactic, which can lead to anaphylactic shock if untreated by a doctor. Melanotan 2 has been dubbed the Barbie drug, as it's supposed to give users the same skin tone as the toy doll. Whoever might want that, I don't know. The HPRA's Director of Compliance, Grania Power, warned Melanotan 2 is a real risk to health. We urge people to consider the fact that there is no supporting safety data available for the substance since they inject it into their body or inhale it into their lungs. I don't know. If you come across that, 08660 25000, that's the WhatsApp or text line, or give us a call on 07491 25000. All right, we're going to take a short break. Our first guest joins us in just a moment. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure has everything you need for getting fit in 2022. From training gear to resistance bands, skipping ropes, weights and foam rollers, we have all the essentials to see you through every step of your fitness journey from training to recovery. Shop our range of gym wear, equipment and accessories at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
It's where you live. It's where you relax. It's where you make memories. Treat your home to a visit to Cooney's Home Interiors.
We have everything in store to help recreate your home. Choose from our extensive range of suites, tables, beds, mattresses and home furnishings for every room. Cooney's Home Interiors Letterkenny. Style and perfection at incredible value.
Does your Kia or Nissan need to be serviced? There's a host of benefits to servicing your car with iMotors. Our workshop has dedicated software and computers that are designed for your Kia and Nissan. Our technicians are trained to the manufacturer's standards to make sure they understand your car. Call us today or visit our website to book in. We also offer servicing on all other branded vehicles.
On to the programme now. We welcome David. David, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Right, tell us, it's kind of a different story this. Maybe our listeners can help. I think that's why you're speaking to us in the first instance. So tell us about your relationship with Frankie and take it from there.
Mm-hmm. I had a small cottage in Dunree and I leased it out to Frankie, and then Frankie fell in love with it and he wanted to purchase the property, and I didn't want to sell it, but he came at me and eventually sold it to him. Unfortunately, Frankie died with cancer, and the property is now lying going derelict. It has been like that for about 15 years. I've been trying to contact any family of Frankie's to see if they're interested in doing it up or what they want to do with it, but from now I still haven't contacted him. I've got on to Patrick McLaughlin, the TD. He told me to go to the derelict property people in the council. I tried them and they said they didn't have a derelict property place. And just every time I drive past the place, I see it going down the hill, going down the hill, going down the hill. And I would like to see if his family wants it, or what they want to do with it, or if they know anything about it.
Right, his name's Frankie Leonard. The house is outside Buncrana in a place called Maherban. Small house with a garden. As you say, it's falling into rack and ruin now. He worked at McDuff's hardware shop in the Strand Road in Derry.
He did indeed,
You've tried putting notes.
But he also had a business of his own then after that. He went out and I think he was selling cards, for business cards. He had a business of his own, but I want to call it, the property went on sale once, and then we discovered that it was the people in Maville was selling it, and then they discovered that the man that was trying to sell it hadn't got the deeds of it.
The deeds are currently still in Frankie Leonard's name.
Yeah.
So there's been no right of passage for this property down to a family member, obviously, at this point.
No. And if a family member is interested in it, I would like to see him getting it and trying to do something with it,
Yeah. How bad is its condition at the moment, David?
I would say at the minute it would need to be tossed down maybe and rebuilt again, or it would cost a lot of money. You actually can't see the property from a road now, with trees growing up the lanes and up the gardens. But if the family wasn't interested, I would purchase the property back again and do something with it, because I've been driving through Buncrana here at the minute, and I've counted about 28 houses lying derelict. I think it's a shame to see it.
And you're trying to find out if someone has a right to it, if they don't want to do anything, you're happy to buy it off them. Have you spoken to the council about
Council says they can do nothing about it. I was on the council yesterday, and they can do nothing about it. They actually told me they hadn't got a derelict property department, but they were going to employ somebody within the next couple of months to go around these derelict properties and sort them out.
Yeah, well, at least maybe make a note of where they are. And obviously time is passing. This is going to come to nothing, this property, if something isn't done.
Yes, if you just have my telephone number. If anybody wants to ring me, I'll take them to the property and show them to them. And if they want to go down the road of claiming it, then so be it.
Right, okay. Well, David, the information's out there. If anyone's related to Frankie Leonard and they want to have a conversation with you, we have your details and we'll connect you, and hopefully something positive comes from this conversation.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care of yourself. Thank you indeed. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. The caller says, what can you do about a shop selling disposable vapes to known children under, known underage children, 14 or 15 years of age? I'm not really quite sure. I don't think there's any regulation in that area at the moment. It's something that probably needs to be done. We talked about this not so long ago. But if you know of a shop that's selling disposable vapes to children of 14 or 15 years of age, can anything be done about it? 086 60 25,000. We were talking about the increased costs to business yesterday, and obviously they're being passed on in some cases in many cases, to the consumer. And I was highlighting the fact that one of the biggest cost increases that businesses are facing, and the bills are dropping on the doors around about now and have been, is the cost of electricity. This business owner contacted us to say, I'm a small business owner and I was paying €950 for a 2-month electricity period. My last bills were €2,100 for 2 months, and today I got a bill €2,400 for 2 months. I'm going to face closure because there's no way I can afford the jumps. This is the added expense in just one area. What about all the other areas? My difficulty is sourcing stock and everything getting blamed on the war of Ukraine. I listened to a podcast from David McWilliams, and he reckons 40% of small businesses will be out of action by the end of this year. That wouldn't surprise me. I think a lot of businesses might see out the summer. But facing into a winter where you're going to invariably be using more power, a business can't go, a small business can't go from a electricity bill of $950 per 2 months to $2,400 per 2 months, and it only going up. It's unsustainable. I don't think any of us would expect people to be able to absorb those type of costs. We flew from Belfast to Santa Ponsa a few weeks ago. All you need is a COVID cert. I think it needs to be at least 2 weeks since you got it. Your last injection, and no more than 270 days. I'm not sure if that answers that caller's query from yesterday, because they had children with them, and I'm not sure what their status might have been in terms of vaccination. A caller says, from my experience, some people don't even reply to a wedding invitation. It's only good manners to reply. Very selfish and very self-centred. Yeah, this is off the back of a conversation we had towards the end of yesterday's programme, by the way, just in case you had to go and do other stuff. A lot of people, a third of people, are not attending weddings because the cost of attending a wedding averages just short of €700, and people simply don't have the money. And the conversation, we put a poll up, and the majority of people too also could understand why that was the situation, that why people were refusing invitations. But that caller says, at the very least, even if you're not going, please reply. I think that's fair. That's decent, isn't it? Right, a caller says... As it relates to our last guest, if he goes to a solicitor and gets them to do a law search on the property, that will mean they will contact all solicitors in the country and they will ask if anyone has any interest in this property. Now, I'm not sure how much that would cost. He's a very honest man. Most people would just claim squatters' rights on it, and clearly it's not his motivation. And I think there's definitely a connection with that property, and he doesn't want to. See it go into complete wreck and ruin. Galway were drawn to leave Croke Park pitch first yesterday, but weren't allowed to. One of the counties involved have foreman orchestrating a brawl. Simply target an opponent who won't back off at an interval when all subs and mentors can pile in without sanction at that match. Right, okay, well, that's the last comment really on the weekend's sporting action. Right, we're joined in studio now by our next guest, and he is Brian Mcelhinney from Finn Wheelers Cycling Club. Brian, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you good to have you with us on the program. How are you keeping?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Good stuff. Okay. Right, we were chatting to you earlier in this year. This was over concerns as it relates to the safety of. Actually, you know what? Let's recap. Yeah. What is the problem at McCrory's Brae for those who aren't fully aware?
Well, McCrory's Brae, as everyone would know, is the route between Ballybofey and Donegal town. And that brae, there's a 750 metre section of the road with no hard shoulder. So between Donegal town and Ballybofey, you can cycle along as hard shoulder. At that section, you have to pull out into the carriageway. Back last October, one of our members was going up that hill, and a serious accident occurred. He was hit from behind by a vehicle, and he sustained very serious injuries. And we felt as a club, there's been too many near misses, and once this happened, we felt something has to be done, something has to be said. So we're speaking up. We put up signs. We launched a campaign in February, and we said we're not putting up these signs and it's going away. We're going to follow through. We've been in touch with councillors. We've been in touch with engineers, and we're just here today to sort of push it again and welcome the fact that some work has been carried out to a side road parallel to the hill, and we welcome that as an interim solution because the long-term solution will take time.
Right, well, we'll get on to that because the bottom line is if lorries and cars and caravans and tractors continue to use that brae, which they will, of course, and if cyclists continue to use it, it's inevitable we're going to see a fatality over time, such as the layout of it. I mean, that's not being dramatic or exaggerating.
It's a reality.
It's a reality.
It was nearly a reality in October, and thankfully it wasn't, and we just don't want it to get there. We don't want to hear it on the news. There's enough accidents there. Yeah. We're just one body. We're cyclists. All road users are at risk, and we just say our bit.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about this interim measure. Is it on the left as you're heading out to Donegal Town, or
so as you're travelling in the direction of Donegal Town, at the bottom of the hill there's a little side road. It's not signposted, but what the council have done in the interim, they have tarred and chipped it, and it's actually finished fairly well. So it's good enough for road bikes, like tyres that are sensitive to puncture. So we've started using it as a club, but now we've asked the council put some signage there because there's other people that are not from the area cycling up McCrory's Brae still, and they're at risk.
Yeah.
So we've asked the council please put signs there, but we're still insisting on the hard shoulder both sides. So when we're coming from Donegal Town to Ballbefay, there's no hard shoulder. Again, you have to pull out into the carriageway. It's on a corner. And
it's horrible.
It's dangerous. You travel it, so you know. Yeah.
And if you're travelling from sort of Mizzen to Malin or Donegal Town to Ballybofey, you have to cross the road, do you, to access this track, or is it really a one-way up the hill track?
Well, it's safest when you're travelling on the Ballybofey to Donegal Town direction. You can go the other way, but you're crossing over twice, so there is a risk. Obviously, travelling up the hill, you're going to be travelling slower, so there's a higher risk. People want to overtake you, and that's what happened last October. But we're here welcoming what's done. It's a good interim measure, but we're pushing for the bigger project.
Yeah, I'm a wee bit confused. It's great to see them taking some action, do not get me wrong. But if you can tar and chip a stretch of road a wee bit away from it, right?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you do that right next to it?
It's how the system works. Like, that's the county council. It's TIA are looking after the main road. Yeah. So I was speaking to the engineer this week, and it's been progressed at design stage. There's procedures, there's steps, and they're working towards maybe getting funding for 2023. But we've seen these too many times before. It takes years.
Yeah.
And we're asking the politicians and the people that be, like, we have a minister for transport who cycles. So we'd like to think that he will look at this project favourably when it reaches his department.
Right, okay. So in the first instance too, I think obviously it's very important that all cyclists on that route, and a lot of them are from outside the area, know that there is this climbing lane effectively for bikes. So signage there is hugely important, isn't it?
Of course, yep.
And you should be pushing an open door. I don't think the council are trying to hide this path.
No, they should. Like, I've spoken to the local representatives, so we'll ask them again just to get that. Like you mentioned, people come Mizzen to Malin to Mizzen. Like, they don't know that side road's leading to the top of the hill, or that it's a safer option. So, and
I would say a lot of those people too, if they were plotting the journey north to south, one of the things would be, right, well, I can rax when I get up that brae. People in the know would know it's a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll keep the pressure on, and hopefully that the bigger project will get done sooner rather than later.
Right, and this is with the TEI now. Have you been told what the next step is in terms of even if it's just to make it safer for lorries and coaches, the heavy goods vehicles going up that hill, it's clear something needs to be done. Yeah. And whatever it needs to be done, it has to accommodate cyclists as well. I mean, that's a non-brainer. Well, there's very few roads like that where you have a multi-million euro road that goes to the bottom of a hill, the hard shoulder stops, and at the other end, you've got a multi-million euro road with a hard shoulder, and it stops at the top of the hill.
It beggars belief what happened there.
There's very little like that. And as far as we understand, Brian, the council has access to, or the TII has access to land either side of that road, or at least on one side.
Well, there's no houses to be demolished. There's I can't see any objection or problems with it. But
also
obviously
funding ran out. At the time when that road was being open, typically I was looking for a negative angle on it. I'm joking, not really. But I did say, well, why did it stop there? Why didn't you keep going up? And apparently, that was the section of road, and
I just think they couldn't agree on what way to do it, so they just did nothing. So
when in doubt, just don't do it.
Yep,
Right.
which isn't great.
Okay, so sorry, just to recap, tell us where it is as far as you're aware now in terms of whose desk is the actual bray and improving that for all types of vehicles then?
It's with TII, and they have an office based in Donegal Town. They're currently designing it, getting it ready so that it'll apply for funding to proceed to tender stage, and that should happen late this year if all the wheels were in correct motion and the right push was on. So, no, that's where it's at. So, and you mentioned Mcelhinney there. I'd like to
Here we go. Here comes the plug.
Here comes the plug. We're actually, as a club, we're doing Mcelhinney this week.
Very good.
And so we'll be travelling the opposite direction from so that won't help us. But we're just going to keep pushing as a club.
And tell us, are you doing the Mcelhinney just for recreational purposes?
Well,
or what's the story?
We are a sort of a leisure group, but we are doing it for Donegal Hospice. It's a local facility which is vital in the county, and a lot of our club members have had family, neighbours, friends using the facilities, and we just felt it was a worthy charity. And it gives more purpose to our cycle, and so we're running we have an I Donate page up on our Finn Wheelers Facebook page.
Brilliant.
So if anyone would like to help out there, yep.
So Finn Wheelers Cycling Club, the I Donate page, if you want to get involved.
Yeah.
How long does that trip take now?
Well, we're doing it over 5 days.
Yeah.
We're not super fit. We're a leisure group, but we're setting off tomorrow morning from Mizzen. And we'll be back in Mcelhinney hopefully Sunday, all being well.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, safe journeys, everyone. A caller says, well spoken, Brian. McGrory's bray is criminal. It's a fatality waiting to happen. Politicians and councils, please get your acts together and sort the dangerous spot out. I'm a casual cyclist, and that bray would be a horror story for me. It is bad enough driving a car there. I don't think they're exaggerating about it.
No, it's been such a relief to use that side road. You just feel so much safer, and you're not taking risks.
And credit where it's due for the council stepping up and putting that in there, by the way.
Yeah, that's why we say it. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a local in Ballybofey. I've went to the council to say that the hard shoulder should continue to the top of the bray, especially for frosty weather. Mm-hmm. It's neat, as I say, it can't just be a hard shoulder, because I think if it's just a hard shoulder, the first thing a lot of the heavy good vehicles are going to do is, or a climbing, we couldn't call it a hard shoulder, but say a climbing lane. Mm-hmm. The first thing HGVs are going to do, we're going to go in on that, obviously.
So there could be a conflict, and
so it has to come up. We have to come up with
it has to be safe for all. Here. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right. And is there any way that the temporary path off the road could become a permanent feature?
Nothing to say it couldn't. It is safe. It's an equal challenge, from a cycling point of view, to get to the top. So it's the other side of the road now where the danger still exists. Yeah. And then it's the people that are unfamiliar with the road.
Yep.
They're going to follow Google Maps or whatever it is to continue on the main road. So it's about awareness or signage, etc. Yep.
All right, then. Listen, thank you very much for that.
Thank you,
Greg. I really do appreciate your time. And
Cheers.
Well done in achieving what you have done so far.
Okay, yeah.
And keep her lit. And hopefully, I think for everyone, it's for all road users, this is one that unites us all.
Exactly.
That is a little stretch of road, a particular stretch of road, just short of a kilometre, that needs addressing, isn't it?
Yep, that's it.
All right, safe journeys.
Thank you,
Malin
Greg.
to Mizzen. Was it Mizzen to Malin or Malin?
Mizzen, we're starting at the bottom and working our way up.
All right,
yep.
good. Uphill.
Hopefully the wind's behind us.
All right, okay. Right, Brian Mcelhinney, thank you very much indeed. Back with more shortly.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire, exclusive stockists of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade-in service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 9126276.
New summer footwear at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. New Balance, Asics, Brooks and Hoka. Brooks Adrenaline 22 in new colours just arrived. Hoka Clifton 8, new summer colours. Or try Bondi 7 for some extra cushioning. Bounce your way through the summer with the best brands and best fit for your feet. Look the part, play the part. In store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Lingering sunsets in Spain, captivating coastlines in Croatia, dinner overlooking Lake Como. It's time to stop dreaming and start doing. Let us guide you to your dream destination. Just show up, suitcase in hand, and we'll take care of everything. Flights, accommodation, excursions, expert local guides, and all that planning. Secure your spot on a guided group tour with 2023 dates now on sale, plus superb special offers. See traveldepartment.com. Irish owned and operated for over 25 years. Travel Department, let's see more.
All right, caller says, what is the point in having cycle lanes if the cyclists won't use them and keep cycling on the hard shoulder? Well, there's different types of cycling lanes, and I've questioned cyclists about this in the past on this programme. I think there's dusty kind of rough surfacey type ones that aren't suitable for the types of bike that they use, and they say they'd prefer to drive on the tarmac. But this alternative climbing lane up McGrory's Bray there between Ballybofey and Donegal Town, it is of a condition that they do use that. But I take your point. I think some of the cycle lanes are for people casually cycling and maybe aren't suitable for these bikes that are used for the roads with their thinner tyres and all that type of stuff. I presume there's something to that. A caller believes what's happening at the moment is the Great Reset. To get all your meds, small businesses out, medium small businesses out of the way, impoverish the people so they're helpless and need to depend on the handouts of the government. Then the population are under complete control. But how do government fund the handouts if all the small and medium firms are taken out of it? I don't understand. And did they try this at the end of the noughties and it didn't work, so they're going back for another bite? Or was it in the 80s when there was an awful recession? Interest rates on houses were 15%. Why is it now the Great Reset as opposed to other problems we've had in the past? I don't know. Right, okay. We are joined on the programme now by Dr. Colm O'Reilly, Director of the Centre for Talented Youth Ireland. You're very welcome to the programme. Thanks for joining us, Colm.
Thanks for having me on.
No, it's good to have you with us. Right, now talk to us about this study on gifted education in Ireland and its key findings from your perspective.
Yeah, we commissioned this study where we wanted to kind of see what students themselves perceived related to their abilities, both academically and socially. And we had some very interesting findings, particularly in the social sphere. Academically, we found that most of them don't feel they're very challenged in school. They don't feel that they go into enough depth in the material, and they don't feel there's enough differentiation related to their ability. That wasn't too much of a surprise related to that, because that's kind of what we expect. Some of them find the work too easy. Socially, though, there was some differences. We found that some students were very resilient and well able to cope and deal with stressful situations, but about 30% found that they were challenged by these things. They felt they had to hide their ability. They didn't want people to know they were gifted. And it was interesting, and a few of them wrote about having a lot of pressure to succeed from their teachers and their parents, and that other people got jealous of it. And as well, people were quite glad when they didn't achieve to the level that they were capable of, which they found very demoralising in relation to that.
And is it the case possibly too that maybe how they behave in school because they're not challenged enough or disinterested or they're trying to conform, that it could be flagged as bad behaviour?
Yeah, sometimes in that case that can be happening, particularly in boys. What can happen is that they get bored and frustrated very easily because they know the stuff, and therefore they act out. The girls are probably tend to be more quiet and reflective in relation to those things, and that can cause difficulties subsequently, because then if they do have high ability, then it's sometimes harder to identify them in that capacity.
How is our school, as far as you believe, how is our school system set up in terms of how we educate our children, whether we can identify, I think we're pretty good, are we, identifying those that might need extra assistance? Are we good at identifying those that have additional ability and tooling up to meet their needs?
In the first instance, I think we're not too badly equipped in terms of identifying these students. I think that there's testing that goes on at primary school and at secondary school, which easily identifies. It's the same testing that we use to identify people on the lower end of the spectrum. We're just looking at the results at the different side in that capacity. That's okay. The problem is we're not having any interventions for them in order for them to achieve their potential in the same way as we would have for people at the lower end of the spectrum, where they would have resources and materials to enable them to function within a mainstream system. Whereas equally you could have students who are 2 standard deviations away from the middle at the top end. Therefore, what they're learning is not appropriate relative to their ability, but there's no interventions really in the school system currently to cater for these students.
I see a map has been published that identifies, is it where gifted children have been identified across the country?
Yes, like that map is slightly skewed probably because there will be a higher proportion of Dublin students within that. Now, population-wise, obviously, look, there's a lot of people living in Dublin. But again, our course is based at Dublin City University, so therefore there probably would be more people coming from Dublin attending. We do have like courses in Sligo and Letterkenny as well, but they're more, they're smaller centres in relation to that. What we kind of want to do is to have students, if they have high ability, to have opportunities near to their house to get extra materials or to access courses that they may be interested in. But obviously, it's contingent on the numbers that you get and the courses that you can offer and where you can do them.
So at what stage do we should we be able to spot if one of our children is particularly gifted, and how do we do so if we're not, or if we can't necessarily rely on it being picked up in school?
Yeah, definitely at an early age, parents are very good related to, would be the best people to identify the students. Because, like, if you have a very talented 5 or 6 year old, they've probably only done a year or two at school. So therefore, their extended vocabulary or their natural interest in things or their knowledge or curiosity is something that the parents would see much more than the school teacher who's doing curriculum where what the point of it is to master certain things that these kids we'd know would have mastered already probably before they even started school. So in that context, the parents at a young age are very good at identifying, should be good at identifying in relation to these are the natural things to look out for: extended vocabulary, natural curiosity, real interest or passion for a certain subject or material. It doesn't have to be academic. It could be like dinosaurs. It could be computer games. It could be something that they just know a lot about and they're very good at. So the parents might see that. Whereas as they get older, particularly at secondary, the teachers would probably be better in the context that if you're an English teacher for 20 years, you probably have a barometer for what an exceptionally talented English student is and what they are achieving in that context, and you can apply that to identify them. Whereas at the probably more difficult ages, unless the child is really standing out, are like 9, 10, 11 and 12, because sometimes, again, these kids might be really talented in areas that aren't covered in the primary school, like somebody who's brilliant at engineering or spatial stuff. They're probably not going to be identified because most of what they're doing would be very traditional maths and traditional verbal stuff.
And can we look
outside that?
I mean, obviously, we through history we hear of people that have done amazing things, and they still do to this day, don't get me wrong, but people that are now renowned in our history, and we look back and at their achievements and they're remarkable. Did we do this better 100 years ago, if you know what I mean, or are we doing it better now in terms of identifying students, supporting them and helping them to maximise their potential?
Yeah, I think we're doing it slightly better now because I think that, it's easy to be retrospective about these things in relation to looking back at imminent individuals and then tracing them backwards. That's a kind of a backward analysis related to that. We'll start when somebody's successful and look back to what made them successful. It'll be far better to have interventions to push them on the pathways to success rather than looking at it like, oh, these have made it, how did they do it? Like sometimes as well, I wouldn't be overly fond of that method because these people normally who you're comparing them to are outliers like Mozart or Einstein. There's only really going to be one of those per generation in relation to that. So using that as a barometer for success is very difficult for anyone to emulate. What we're trying to do is to normalise high ability in the context that if you have kids in the top 5%, that's 1 in 20. So therefore, there's a lot of kids out there in regular schools who are achieving, whereas your Einsteins and your Mozarts are 1 in 20 million. So therefore, there's very few that you can identify in a regular system.
Okay, interesting stuff. Colm, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
No
Dr.
problem.
Colm O'Reilly is Director of the Centre for Talented Youth Ireland, 21 from Donegal attending. Okay, and looking through a quiz that was published in an independent newspaper, I think, at the weekend. How would you do in a quiz for super smart 12-year-olds? Not very well, if the truth is told. I think I peaked a long time ago. One question, it's which word is the odd one out? Irrelevant, bizarre, peculiar, or eccentric? Would you know which one of those was the odd one out? Smart 12-year-olds do. Which word is the odd one out here? Special, universal, unique, exceptional. Which pairs together? Which pairs? I can't even read now. I'm under so much pressure. Which pair goes together in the same way as the first pair? Raise building, that's the first pair. Then sow seed, graft plant, fell tree, open door. If you know the answer to those questions, and if you're 12, you're gifted. Or you could just be me. Okay. Back to the conversation about electricity prices. We're all feeling it, but just focusing a little bit on small and medium businesses. A caller says, business electricity for my business went mad. I went out of contract with Electric Ireland in February. They never informed us, by the way. And it jumped 56% over the course of 2 months without a deal increase from the April rise. 38.5 cent ex-VAT per unit changed to Itabola for a better rate of 29.5 ex-VAT, but they're leaving the market and will be automatically switched back to Electric Ireland. When that happens, we'll probably go with Flowgas, who look to be the best at the minute, with 31 cent ex-VAT through bonkers.ie. Business Energy Partner. I'll attach a wee document shortly, but yes, business costs for electricity are away mad. Variable is the option we'll choose. Fixed rates are mad. Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. Just another insight, a technical insight, it has to be said, for business there. I'm going to America for a week in July. Does anyone know if there's anything else I need other than my COVID cert to gain access? It's just for a holiday. I mean, you need a pre-clearance for that, don't you? I don't know. I've never been to America. A caller, but one of our listeners had, by the way. I'm not getting rid of the question. A caller says the council can take over property. They will renovate it and they'll lease it out to social housing until they recoup the cost of renovation. It is a scheme. You can sign it over for 5, 10 or 20 years if this is an option for you. The problem is this property itself, unless this is a general query, this property itself, we actually don't know. We know the owner has deceased or is deceased. And we don't know if he's got any family who will take ownership of it. And its former owner is looking to find someone to buy it off them, to do it up themselves.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. As you may know, I have now opened on the main street in Letterkenny, right beside the Bank of Ireland. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts off dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
It's massive savings on garden furniture now in Home Store and More. You can save hundreds of euro on a great range of garden furniture, dining sets, rat and corner lounge sets, egg and hanging chairs, gazebos, and much more. See for yourself. It's massive savings on garden furniture now in your local Home Store and More, or online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Newly engaged and searching for the perfect venue, the 4-star Courch Hotel Gweedore is gaining popularity as Donegal's leading wedding venue thanks to its reputation for excellent food, beautifully upgraded ballroom and idyllic location on the shore of River Clady with the majestic Errigal Mountain providing the perfect backdrop. Start planning your wild Atlantic wedding with a private viewing on 07495 32900 and discover our newest wedding packages. And Courch Hotel Gweedore, part of the Gallen Hospitality Group.
Teagasc are holding a farm reseeding and drainage event this Tuesday the 28th of June at 7 p.m. in Elistrin, Letterkenny. The location will be signposted from F92WD21. Topics include multi-species swards, reseeding practices and soil structure. Live machinery will be in operation and all are welcome.
There has been urgent calls for clarity on a draft unpublished National Cardiac Review, which, if approved, would have a huge impact on services in the Northwest. It details plans for numerous centres of excellence and secondary centres in other parts of the country. However, locally, there are currently no plans for any cardiac services to be provided in the whole of the Northwest, which would result in the cancellation of the angiogram service at Letterkenny University Hospital. Sinn Féin Health spokesperson David Cullinan is calling for the urgent publication of the report. His party colleague, local deputy Martin Kenny, joins us on the programme now. Is the absence of sort of information, can we read from that then that, Martin, that there are no plans for future cardiac services in the Northwest? Or if this is a draft, perhaps it is yet to be added to it. Maybe they were waiting to see how the dust settled following the withdrawal of private cardiac services and what have you.
Well, I think that's very unlikely. First of all, I suppose the background of this is that there's a national review of specialist cardiac services. It was established by the Minister for Health in 2018. Professor Philip Nolan, who we've all got to know through COVID, is heading that up and is the chair of it. And this is a draft of the summary of what they're going to come up with. And basically, they're looking at it across the different health areas. And of course, under Sláinte care, the country is divided into different areas. The area which ourselves in Leitrim, Sligo, Donegal, the whole Northwest is in Area F, which also goes right down to Galway. And when you look at the actual map that they produce, Galway University Hospital is the only hospital they show in this region that has any cardiac services. And it's an awful journey from Sligo, certainly from Letterkenny, from the whole Northwest down to Galway. And it is a really, I think, a retrograde step if this particular plan became reality. As you know, in the last week we've had notice, and in fact tomorrow I think is the last day, or the next day after is the last day, when the private service, which was a mobile service there 1 or 2 days a week in Sligo, was available. That's been withdrawn totally. And as you say, in Letterkenny, the service there, the angiogram service is under threat as well. So this is really serious.
Well, just
from the
on
point
that,
of view of provision of health services in the Northwest.
I mean, you say the angiogram services in Letterkenny are under threat. Do we know they are? Because I don't want to startle anyone here, because obviously we were told that not only were the services that this private company provided were going to be provided at Letterkenny, but we were going to use the equipment on site there in a more enhanced way that we may actually even add to those services. But you say that they're under threat. So what is the basis for you believing that they're under threat now, as opposed to this information that we've been digesting over the last couple of weeks?
Because I have in my hand the summary of the National Review of Special Cardiac Services, and in that document, Letterkenny Hospital is not mentioned, nor is Sligo. And it's as simple as that.
And now, would you expect that document?
This is a draft, and it's a draft, and it's stamped confidential, and I know that. And I suppose in theory I'm not supposed to have it. It was posted to me anonymously. But however, I have it, and the government has a responsibility to the people of the Northwest to provide cardiac services and proper health services for them everywhere. We're also in a border region, and there's cross-border services that can be established. To date, most of those services have been one-way traffic, where people have gone north to get services, but very little has been established in the border counties on the southern side. And I think there is an opportunity here for government to step up to the mark, to put proper services in place, because most of the cath lab services that we're talking about here are diagnostic services. They're so that you can have the various checks and scans done to see exactly what is wrong. There's also an opportunity to establish planned interventions for planned surgery as well, such as stents, which I know the vast majority of people, that's what they end up getting. And that can be established.
I understand, Tony. Can I ask a question, Tony, please?
Yes, sorry.
Martin, I had Tony. Martin, just ask a question. Does this document talk of centralising services in Galway? Is Letterkenny referenced at all? Is Sligo referenced? Does it give a vision to centralising or having people travel from these regions to Galway, or are we omitted altogether? Because obviously that's quite important, I think.
Well, the place where they talk about establishing services, they talk about establishing, if you like, centres of excellence in Model 4 hospitals with cardiac surgical services, and they are Cork, Galway, the Mater in Dublin, and St James's in Dublin. Then they talk about, other services in other hospitals that already have them. They talk about Beaumont, they talk about Limerick, they talk about Waterford, they talk about St Vincent's in Dublin and Tala in Dublin. Now, they don't mention, as you can hear from what I've said, any other hospital in the Northwest or the Midlands. Now, having said that, when you look at the other parts of the document, it does go into the different areas. It talks about CHO1, and it talks about the areas there, and it does mention all the hospitals, but it doesn't mention that any services will be provided in them. And in fact, the map that's attached to it in Appendix 2, Proposed Regional Cardiac Networks, shows a line running from Letterkenny Hospital, Sligo Hospital, Mayo Hospital, Roscommon Hospital and Portiongna, all going into a centre in Galway.
Right. Now, the reason
there's
Tony's...
there's no mention that's two-way traffic. It's very, very clear from what I can read here that it's one-way traffic. People going to Galway for the service.
And the reason Tony's name was in my head, it was Tony Canavan, because when we were speaking to him as it relates to the future of the angiogram services in Letterkenny, he was quite direct in saying that, in the future or even now, people may have to travel distances to get services, and they're just going to have to live with that effectively. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that was the tone of his statement.
Yep.
Maybe this document was in his mind when he was saying things like that.
Perhaps, and I'm not saying that when people have specialist services they need to save their lives, they should be prepared to travel and are prepared to travel. And that's fine when it's really serious issues. But for cardiac services where you're talking about diagnostics, where you're talking about more minor and routine services and operations and interventions, they can be done locally, should be done locally, and the expertise in order to keep our cardiac consultants in place, which is one of the vital issues here. If you remove the services, no cardiac consultant will want to work in those hospitals because they don't have the tools to work with. So you're actually downgrading the entire service by doing what it says in this document. So I think it's very clear that what we need is the government to publish the full document. We need clarity on what this means, and we need to ensure that if we have to, that the people of the Northwest put up a fight to ensure that cardiac services are here for our loved ones, because too many people have died of heart conditions in the past because they haven't got there in time. And one of the things that mentions in this document is about right care, right place, right time. Now, the distance from Donegal to Galway is a very, very long way.
Oh, for sure.
And it takes a long time, and we need to recognise that.
You mentioned cross-border services just briefly. Is that referenced? Is there any talk of enhancing that? Or?
No.
All right, okay.
No,
that's
it's not
quite
mentioned at all.
All right, thank you very much for your time this morning. That's Deputy Martin Kenny of Sinn Féin. Obviously, we'll be staying right across that story as well. It's of huge significance to us here in this region. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp text line, or call us on 07491 25,000. Quick one before the news. The number of British people granted Irish citizenship rose by almost 1,200% since Brexit, official figures show. Data from the Department of Justice reveals the number of Britons who've successfully applied to become Irish citizens increased by 1,115% since the UK voted to leave the EU in 2016. Some of them elected politicians as well. In 2015, just 54 people from Britain were granted Irish citizenship. The following year, 98 British people secured Irish citizenship, while a further 525 received it in 2017, and onwards and upwards. All right. That is the first hour of the 9 till noon show this Tuesday in the bag. Coming up after 10, we have Community Guard information, where we'll be getting the latest appeals and information from Garda Síochána. That's on the way after the news.
Start playing NCBI Radio Bingo today. 3 chances a day, 5 days a week to win daily prizes of €400 plus. Not to mention a weekly jackpot of €5,000 upwards. Books available at your local retailer for just €5 each. It couldn't be simpler. Real money, real people.
At An Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. An Post, Your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
In 2018, Toyota cut through the confusion, completely ceasing production of diesel passenger cars, lowering harmful emissions and providing certainty for Irish drivers everywhere. And Kelly's Toyota are proud to be part of that hybrid electric journey. Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles today to see what makes Toyota Ireland's best-selling car brand in 2021 and 2022. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world. Best-selling claim based on most recent monthly figures.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Fears over the future of Moff Garda Station remain. The Garda Press Office yesterday confirmed that there are no plans in place to close the Garda Station. However, Gardaí are being redeployed from Moff to Burnfoot, which has caused much concern in the area that would result in the closure of the station. Councillor Terry Crossan says the conflicting messaging needs to be clarified.
I have emailed Chief Superintendent Terry McGinn. I have spoken to my colleague, Councillor Jerry McMonigal, who is the chair of the JPC, and I intend to possibly have an emergency meeting of the JPC to get clarification on this.
The Taoiseach says it's high about time the UK holds talks with the EU on the protocol. Legislation to scrap parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol was passed in the House of Commons last night. It will now face further scrutiny in the Parliament next month before it goes to the House of Lords. Some of those who voted against the bill are former British Prime Minister Theresa May, as well as Julian Smith, who is an ex-Northern Ireland Secretary. Micheál Martin says they need to engage with all parties in Northern Ireland.
Unilateralism is not good for the Good Friday Agreement. It was never part of the esprit de corps that led to the Good Friday Agreement, and it's high about time now that I think the UK government should really engage with the European Union in substantive talks to resolve outstanding issues in relation to the operation of the protocol, and also consult widely with all of the interests in Northern Ireland, all of the parties in Northern Ireland and the Irish government.
Work is progressing to strengthen and enhance communication and governance links between Letterkenny University Hospital and the Ceuta University Healthcare Group. A number of on-site workshops have taken place, facilitated by EY, dealing with the future vision, mission and values for the hospital and Ceuta, as well as future governance and communications and engagement. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
They heard from staff who discussed current challenges and who worked together to develop a draft strategy to establish core principles and priorities that aim to strengthen the communication model for the future. Tony Canavan, CEO of Ceuta University Healthcare Group, says the strategy sets out how they will engage and communicate with staff, patients and other stakeholders, ensuring staff in the community are aware of wider changes and plans developed to drive sustainable change. Sean Murphy, Hospital Manager, Letterkenny University Hospital, meanwhile confirmed that a working group is developing a plan for a detailed roadmap to help develop structures, processes and culture to better support staff.
A new zero-tolerance strategy will see jail terms of up to 10 years for domestic abusers. Cabinet is to sign off on the plan to tackle domestic, sexual and gender-based violence, which will see maximum sentences for assault causing harm doubled. Justice Minister Helen McEntee says the new strategy has been worked out in consultation with groups who support victims of domestic abuse.
Today is a really important day. It's a culmination of almost 2 years' work, not just across government, but working with the agencies. And most importantly, we have actually co-written it with the sector. So we have had a huge amount of consultation right the way throughout. The overall objective and the plan is zero tolerance. And I know that's ambitious, but what it means is a whole of society, a whole of government, a whole of society approach and change.
An East Donegal cycling group has welcomed improvements made on the Ballybuffet to Donegal Town Road after they raised safety concerns. Earlier this year, Finn Wheeler Cycling Club launched a campaign for a hard shoulder to be added to a 750 metre stretch known as McGrory's Brae. A side road has now been added, but cyclist Brian Mcelhinney told today's 9 till noon show that he believes more needs to be done.
What the council have done in the interim, they have tarred and chipped it, and it's actually finished fairly well, so it's good enough for road bikes. So we've started using it as a club, but now we've asked the council put some signage there because there's other people that are not from the area cycling up McCrory's Brae still, and they're at risk.
Yeah.
So we've asked the council please put signs there, but we're still insisting on the hard shoulder both sides. So when we're coming from Donegal town to Ballybuffet, there's no hard shoulder. Again, you have to pull out into the carriageway.
Weather now, rain will clear this morning with sunny spells and widespread heavy showers following for the rest of the day. Some of the showers may be thundery with highest temperatures today of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Obituary notices for Tuesday morning, June 28th. The death has occurred of Dolly McCall, Mahary, Dunlow. Her remains will be reposing in Mcelhinney's funeral home this evening from 4 p.m, with rosary at 9 p.m, and tomorrow from 2 p.m, with removal at 6 p.m, going to St Crona's Church, Dunlow, to repose overnight. Funeral Mass on Thursday morning at 11 a.m, with interment afterwards in Mahary Cemetery. Family flowers only, donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Sean McGlynn Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Sam Graham, Perth, Western Australia, and formerly of Momeen St Johnson. Cremation will take place in Perth, Western Australia. The death has taken place of the Very Reverend Brian Quinn, PP, Church of the Irish Martyrs, Parish of Aughananshin, Ballyreen, Letterkenny. Father Brian's remains will be reposing in the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyreen, this morning from 11 a.m. until Rosary at 9 p.m. Requiem Mass there tomorrow morning at 11 a.m, which can be viewed on the parish Facebook page. Interment afterwards to Conwall Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Intensive Care Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Kathleen Logan, Urbla Ray, Malin Head. Remains reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home this morning at 11:30 a.m. to St Mary's Church, Lag, Malin, for Requiem Mass at 12 noon. Burial afterwards in Malin Presbyterian Church, Lag Burial Ground. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice. The death has occurred of Michael Kelly, 27, Blackrock Drive, Ballybuffet, and formerly of Capri, Ballybuffet. His remains are reposing at his family home. Funeral leaving his residence at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar, with interment afterwards in Drumbow Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. Family, neighbours and close friends are welcome. Family time from 10 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow morning. The death has occurred of Anna Mary McGinty, Goland, Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving her home this morning at 10:30 a.m. for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar, at 11 a.m. interment afterwards in Stranorlar Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. Family time before the funeral this morning. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Are you switched on to your energy rights? If you're worried about rising energy costs and are having difficulty paying your gas and electricity bills, you should contact your supplier. Suppliers are required to assist customers in genuine financial difficulty and can put in place payment arrangements to help you manage your energy bills. If you qualify as a vulnerable customer due to health, age, or for other reasons, you can register with your supplier for additional protections. Switch on to your rights and visit cru.ie. Brought to you by the Commission for Regulation of Utilities.
All right, you're welcome back to the second hour of the programme, and good morning if you're joining us for the first time. Just to let you know, by the way, 2 Cocker Spaniel pups are running up and down the dual carriageway from Lifford to Letterkenny. Drivers concerned that they're going to either lose their lives themselves or cause a collision. So 2 Cocker Spaniel pups. If you're going to retrieve them too, please be really careful as well, because the traffic may not be expecting you. But hopefully that situation is resolved sooner rather than later. You need ESTA to get into the USA. It costs $21 per person. That's on the back of a call earlier on. Someone asking what else they need. I presume they had the ESTA, but make sure you go to the official website, by the way, because if you go to the first result on a Google search, you can end up paying much more than the $21, albeit it will be an ESTA. A caller says, I've been attending the eye clinic for a number of years, usually get tested every 4 to 6 months. It was 2 years since my last checkup, but I got it yesterday. I learned when I was there that all 3 eye specialists no longer work there. It's ridiculous. I now have to go to Sligo for my checkups. It's not good enough, and we've been talking about that. And indeed, when speaking to the head of the Celta group, I put that to him, the question about people getting treatment for their eyes in Letterkenny, and it was off the back of that he said also that they have to make sure that it's not just a case of sending someone up there for a satellite service, that they are ensuring that it's certain criteria are met, and if that means people have to travel to Sligo, that's just what they're going to have to do. Again, paraphrasing, but that was the thrust of what he had to say. This caller, another medical matter. It took me 5 years to get to see a consultant, and when I said I had private healthcare, I was told my next appointment would be in 4 weeks. That's what's wrong with this country, they believe. A caller asks, why is there no social worker in Ballybofey and Stranorlar? It's really needed. I was told there simply is not one. Now, I don't know under whose care or in what area, but if that is the case, obviously it is worrying. All right, we'll be back after the break with the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. But first, we'll take the bingo numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 28th of June. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 26. The numbers are 46, 79, 18, 63, 28, 6, 55, 62, 10, and finally 57. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Right now you can get Sky TV and broadband with Netflix at no extra cost, all for €55 a month for 12 months. Yep, Netflix is on us. With Sky, you get the best entertainment all in one place. So get Sky TV and broadband with Netflix at no extra cost, all for €55 a month. And there's no setup fees. What are you waiting for? Offer ends 30th of June. Availability subject to location. New Sky customers only. Minimum term and further terms apply. For more information, see sky.ie/speeds.
Hegarty's Auto Body Repairs in Letterkenny have been keeping cars on the road across the northwest for the past 50 years. Hegarty's are the only Ford-approved body shop in the northwest, but repair all makes and models. Paintless dent removal, windscreen replacement and restoration work. Hegarty's even mix their own paint. approved by most insurance companies and certified Steel Standards Ireland. That's Hegarty's Auto Body, Letterkenny, for all vehicle repairs. See hegartys.com.
After 3 years, Waterworld Bundoran is back. We're now open every day throughout the summer. Experience the 3-lane multi-slide, the wave pool and rapids, the twister, tornado and gravity speed slides, the Pirates Galleon ship, kids toddler pool and more. Booking essential. So get your tickets now at waterworldbundoran.com and find us on Facebook.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euromillions Jackpot is an estimated €175 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show this Tuesday morning. It's the 28th of June. It's time now for Community Garda information. We welcome into studio today Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace. Paul, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
No
Okay, we've got some advice coming up for the tens of thousands, everyone really, who seems to have been going away on holiday. Some advice for those who have yet to travel. That's on the way. But let's run through some appeals that maybe the public can help in solving some crimes. Okay, we'll start with an incident of criminal damage in Milford. Tell us about that.
Yeah, local crime in Milford. Early hours of yesterday morning in the Loch Road in Milford, front sitting room window of 2 houses smashed. One of the incidents was reported at 4:45 a.m. And then when the guards went there, they discovered the one next door had been damaged also. Entry doesn't appear to have been gained at either property, so we would just be appealing to people who are in the Loch Road area of Milford. Early hours yesterday morning. Milford is the station for that, is 074 9153 060, and that's the 24/7 number. Again, the usual appeal around dash cam footage or the confidential line. Unusual, the 2 windows would be broken in adjacent houses and no entry gained, so there's obviously something going on there, but it's quite upsetting for anybody at that time of the morning to have damage caused like that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, a criminal damage incident in Killygordon next.
Yeah, this is the burning out of a car at Barryarle, Killygordon, yesterday, about 12:30, just after midday. A black Lexus IS250, which is the newer model of the Lexus, was set on fire at that location, and the fire brigade, fire service had to go out and put out the fire. So anybody who would have seen a black Lexus, I don't have any details of the registration number, but it's the IS250 model, which is the newer model of people who would know that type of car out around that area. Again, Letterkenny guards are investigating that, 074 9167 100. So that's yesterday around lunchtime. Car burned out for some reason. Fairly modern car.
And distinctive too. They're distinctive
They are
vehicles,
distinctive and fairly modern and probably still valuable. They've become very valuable before the Donegal rally. Mightn't be as valuable now. But there's obviously some aspect, some reason that a car would be set on fire like that. And then it's the whole thing about damage to the environment and all of those things.
And taking up the resources of the fire service.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully that gets resolved. Criminal damage now at the Mountain Road in Carndonagh.
Yeah, well, this was a fire again, and when we're talking about the fire services and all that, that was 11:50 p.m. on Thursday, the 23rd of June, so it had been last Thursday night. They got a report. Guards got a report in Buncrana of a fire in progress at Mountain Road. Fire services went, and of course they attend these things urgently, but it was established that tyres and other debris had been set alight on the road, so that was obviously a deliberate attempt, to set a fire. Now, we have a bit of rain today, but we know in summers past and springtimes past what can happen with fires and the damage it causes to the wildlife and even to property. So when the guards, incidents like that, where it requires the services of the fire services, it is reported because it's seen as very serious, because it's taken a service away that may be urgently required somewhere else.
Yeah.
It could be a traffic accident, it could be a house fire, it could be where people would, occupiers of a house could be in danger. So, there's valuable response time plus cost and all of that. So someone doing that deliberately for some reason. So we would ask anybody who was in that area between 11 and 11:50 p.m. That's the Mountain Road outside Buncrana, to contact the guards in Buncrana on 9320540, and again that's the 24/7 number. Or again, if you want to use the confidential line, the 1-800-666-111.
Now, the next appeal is a bizarre one. We spoke to a member of a community organisation in the Convoy area earlier this month. It seems orchestrated, it's disruptive, and doesn't make a great deal of sense either. But what's the nature of this appeal in Convoy from a Garda perspective?
Yeah, well, it's the theft of 5 benches, for sitting down. These good quality PVC type ones. They were taken on the 13th of June. And Grania has a note here that a picture of one of the benches on the Facebook page. So, but everyone knows what these benches, and they're welcome if you're out for a long walk or that. They all look the same. They're made from the recycled plastic. But each seat on each bench is a different colour, so they're distinctive from that point of view. The Convoy Community and Environmental Committee have put a lot of hard work into the fundraising here and maintaining activities or amenities around the town. So they're very disappointed out there. We would like to try and track these benches down and see who is doing it and for what reason. So again, the guards at Letterkenny, 074 9167 100, or the confidential line where people may not want to be identified as such, but could pass us on a bit of information. It's free phone number 1-800-666-111. And when you look at that damage, the theft of 5 seats, you look at the damage on the Mountain Road, the fire. These are all attacks on the community, really. And it's something that we can't, if we tolerate it, it won't get any better.
No, for sure. And the thing with the benches too is they're on the outskirts of the town. I think an ankle grinder we used in at least one of the cases. They took a bit of an effort to get out there. It's not like someone's putting them in their own garden, you would imagine, and then you'd wonder what the market is out there. It's a peculiar one. It was peculiar when we were speaking to the committee at the time, and it remains so.
You have a good background to it there, and it would be peculiar from the point of view that the seats are different colours that would be, you would think, readily identifiable. They're not really the type of seat that you would put in your garden either, and you certainly wouldn't. You'd have a big garden if you need 5.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there a market out there if people are offered these on what we call the black market or on sites that can pass on or that you can advertise property? We would say buyer beware, because you have no actual title if we become aware of where they are.
A very strange one. We're really keen to see something.
Well, it's the summertime and people are tidying up communities and doing all that, and seats are I always think a nice part if you're going into a town. It shows the community working together and all of that.
Yeah, I agree. Right, okay. So now, Slow Down Week. It's a long social media campaign that's taking place at the moment. Look, we know already this year, by last count that I saw, 83 people had lost their lives on our roads. These are deaths that, for the most part, hopefully we could avoid, or we can't now, but maybe going forward. And I suppose that is, amongst other things, the motivation for these initiatives, Paul.
Yeah, well, it's a Slow Down initiative that commenced yesterday and it runs to next Sunday. And I suppose you've spoken there about the fatalities. 83 people, that's 83 families. That's a massive community impact on a community. Like 83 people, when you think of it, it's a coach load of people plus almost a second coach. And sometimes when you say the figure 83, it doesn't resonate. But when you put down, think a full coach of people have plus almost another one have been taken out of our society in Ireland so far this year, and we're only halfway there. And the aim of the campaign is just asking or encouraging people to modify their behaviour and encourage all age groups to think about road safety, and how they can influence behaviours. A group of people that's very vulnerable at this time of year is motorcyclists. You see a lot of them out there. There used to be a thing years ago, think bike. You have to, when a car is coming out from a junction or something like that there, you have to think that they're very vulnerable and mostly very responsible in what they do. We see with the success of the Wild Atlantic Way every day, and I live out on it myself, you see maybe 5 and 6 motorcyclists going out touring and all of that. But this is a wider emphasis for heavy goods drivers, for car drivers, all that. We're in the middle of the summer. You wouldn't think to look at it when you're out there today, but people are starting to move around, go on their staycations, head for airports, do whatever they're doing. So the traffic volumes are high again.
Yeah, you've got the caravans, you've got the agricultural
Caravans,
traffic.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the summer.
And,
you were speaking with the cycle people this morning. They're missing to Malin. Wish them well, but that's a group of people who are very vulnerable on the road. So the roads have become busy between, as you say, agricultural vehicles in the summer, or your normal commercial traffic, and then your holiday traffic. So we're working with communities, reaching out again, asking people, talking about the road safety on social media platforms. This year they're having this hashtag Please Slow Down, and they're having these slow down ambassadors from around the country. So I think as far as I know, I was asked to provide a number of names last week. There's a number of people obviously going to be doing things on social media or in the media as well, and
it'll pop up on their social media and hopefully get to the people that might ordinarily miss conversations like this or a newspaper. It's to reach as many people as possible through all means, I presume, Paul.
And we have to think about the 83 people. We have to try and reverse the trend or stop the trend or keep it down, because we're at the end of the half-year term as such.
And also too, and it was very obvious to me, particularly over the rally, where there was a lot of car videos being put up, and it was young people a lot of the time and older people as well, thoroughly enjoying themselves. But quite often what you'd see is the camera panned around the car. Firstly, obviously, maybe you shouldn't be, even the passengers shouldn't be making videos while the car is moving, but like 3 or 4 people in the back of the car without seatbelts on.
Yeah.
And you know yourself, I'm sure you've attended many road traffic collisions, and you can tell very clearly the difference between a crash where seatbelts were worn and crashes where they weren't, especially multiple occupant crashes. And I just, me personally, to my children, emphasising to them, and if we all could, look, you're young once, have fun, but please put the seatbelt on, because even in the back, because if that car crashes at high speed, it's horrendous what happens.
Yeah, well, the people in the back can do as much harm, and we all have a tendency to wear. There's good seatbelt compliance out there now, but I would say if there was a survey done on backseat compliance, it's not there. The first thing you do when you get into an airplane is you grab the seatbelt, and what use it'll be to you if something goes wrong. But certainly in a motor vehicle, a motor car, because the person in the back has, depending on their weight, has the capacity to do serious damage to the people in the front, and your heart really sinks. And I remember, it's a while now since, because of a different role, but when I used to be out operational, and particularly when I was in Monaghan, when you go to an accident scene and you would realise that somebody was fatally injured and they had no belt on, and the chances of them surviving if they had the belt on would have been very high. So it should be a standard thing that people would clunk and click, as they used to say years ago.
Now, I know the focus of this campaign is on speed, and I didn't want to dilute that.
No, but it's hand in hand.
I was just looking at some of these videos, and I was thinking,
the
whole life's in front of you. Please just make sure it is.
And the modern car is so designed. You must have paid extra.
What are you on about?
You got the coffee.
I'm getting a cup of coffee.
But they give them a hint. No, but it's not to be jesting about a serious issue. The modern car is designed for the seatbelt to be worn. The airbags, all of those restraint systems and all that, all work in conjunction with one another. I notice even in my own car now, if you have to brake hard, you can find the seatbelt starting to retract automatically.
There's airbags and more
they're up
modern
around
cars,
you, to protect you.
They're designed to assist you if you've got a seatbelt on.
But the important component is you wearing the belt. That's where it starts. So
right, keep your eye out on your social media and all medias. Of course, you'll see the hashtag slow down, and I suppose the idea is that we all heed it as best we can.
Just be careful out there.
Yeah, okay.
Try and enjoy the summer.
Right, we mentioned earlier on, everyone seems to be away on holidays. It's fantastic to see it. It really is, and the airport seems to be operating okay. People are getting out and through. But this is an opportune time for those who are motivated to know when people are away, to target homes. What's some advice that you have for us to remind us not to, ruin anyone's fun? But,
you don't
want to come back having emptied your bank account and see that your house is destroyed as well.
And it can happen. And then people are contacting the like of me looking for advice, and they're fitting alarms when the horses bolted literally. So, I suppose people are moving around. We would have certain intelligence that there would be certain criminals lying low at the moment, watching houses in particular, particularly in rural areas. And I suppose the number one thing I would say is, and you might be going on holidays this week, but, think about an alarm. It's one of the things that will help to protect your house. And think about your good quality door locks. We've spoke about them often here on the radio programme. The social media aspect, the posting of photographs when you're on your holidays, telling everybody that you're away. You don't know how many friends and who's the friends of friends and who's monitoring, who's sitting in the shadows. And, there's so much crime committed. And I want to mention something over social media or over the internet now at the moment. It's nearly surpassing the actual physical break-ins, but they're still happening. So if you're going away, the simple things is mention to your neighbour that you're going away. If you want to notify us, we will certainly keep it in mind in the course of our patrols, and people do that, particularly in the urban areas. And that even goes if there's a wedding or some celebration in a house and where a house is going to be vacant and maybe wedding presents there. Never any harm to just say, look, we have a wedding coming up. The house will be vacant Saturday and Sunday or whatever. If you can leave a car in the driveway, it gives an impression somebody's at home. Milk and post and that gathering up. Most people, we don't have too many milkmen in Donegal doing actual deliveries to houses, but we do in some areas. But certainly post on the mat, the usual things. Then your garage, is your wheelie bins, is your ladders, other tools that could be used to claim. And it was at a burglary there lately down in where was it? It was in the town there, the Gortley area, and the painters were there, and they had left the ladder, and the house was broken into 2 nights later. And it wasn't the painter's fault, they just didn't get back for the ladder.
Yeah.
But somebody was obviously walking past, saw the ladders, said, this is how
That's
I'm
how
gonna get
opportunistic people can be. Yeah, okay.
Keeping your garden tidy, if you're away for a while, get someone to cut the grass. Again, securing the sheds and bicycles and all of that sort of thing. Cash and jewellery are the targeted items. They're easily offloaded. So if you have cash at home, purchase a good quality safe, put your jewellery in there, put your important documents
and log your jewellery as well. Because often what happens is it might be 3-4 weeks later someone reaches for something that they expected to be there and it's not, and that's another thing.
I'm a long time giving out this advice, and I always say put in a nice white tablecloth on your table, lay out your items of jewellery and watches and things, take a few photographs, email them back to yourself. Then you have a record. I had that property on that day. This is mine. This is what it looks like.
Video doorbells are incredibly popular. In they're actually really relatively inexpensive. They also operate as quasi security cameras as well. They don't, you can have them to pick up movement. You're saying that's something people maybe could look at now as well?
Yeah, a security package for your home is an upgrading of the locks, thinking about an alarm, and the video doorbell, particularly for people living on their own, and that it allows them to screen the caller. Some of them have a SIM card built in, and it'll take a couple of seconds of a video of somebody even coming to the door,
memory card,
even though, So, as you say, they're quite inexpensive. You see them popping up in some of the big retailers every now and then. They're not hard to get. And when you put it a cost-benefit analysis over a number of a period of years, it's a good deterrent for your home, because somebody calling to the door will assume there's somebody inside, And
well,
again,
you talked earlier on about someone checking to see if there was any post on the mat.
Yeah.
Right? How are they going to do that?
Yeah,
they're going to approach your front door.
Yeah.
And these, if you have the right doorbell and it's set up in a certain way, it will capture the image of that person. So that's how these things are sort of interlinked and how they can work.
And depending on your ability to use technology, you can actually watch that in real time on your phone if you're on holiday, no more than looking at CCTV if you have it around your house. But times, and Greg, I've been saying this, people run for CCTV. It's grand and it has a purpose, but the physical security of your house, your side gates, your door locks, your garage, because your garage will contain all the housebreaking implements that anybody will ever have. And think back to the lather being left for 2 or 3 days, and the next thing the house is broken into. So there are people moving around in communities in the States looking to see for the easy target. So we would just say review that, let somebody know. if it's a thing, let the guards know. And we'll do our best. We'll not mount a post outside your house, but at least we can do passing attention.
And again,
and I mentioned social media.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those where it's like sounds like you're being a spoil sport, but we know there are criminals and have been criminals that will talk you home when they know you're at a funeral.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, so if they're able,
we've seen that, and the weddings,
exactly.
And family functions, and advance warning or advertising of a family function.
Yeah.
Be careful, and advance warning. I'm going. We've seen the ones of the photograph. And we've probably all been tempted to do it. We're sitting at Dublin Airport with a nice pint of cold beer or whatever.
Yeah,
it's 5 o'clock somewhere, so I'll have a go, and there's that thing.
All right, and you might have worked really, really hard at your job to afford to pay for these holidays. Unfortunately for these criminals, it's their job to scour the social media, to be the friend of a friend.
Get the easy target, that's all.
And it's not always the person that spots this stuff that's the criminal. Well, they are a criminal, but they can pass this information on. There is a network.
It's a network. It's multifaceted. There's not just maybe the guy that goes in and carries out the burglary. There's the person who targets the house, who passes the information. You make it easier if you're putting it up on social media. If you're going to post your photos, post them when you come home.
All right.
Now, I have two other things.
Yes,
there
go
if
ahead,
I have
Paul.
time.
Yes.
I was contacted there this morning. We had a postmistress in the county who contacted the guards yesterday in Letterkenny, where she had a call from an elderly pensioner who had received a telephone call from a man in a foreign country, again going through Western Union, wanting her to do a Western Union, and it's not even Western Union has legitimate, but that was the one it was, so it might get people's ears to tune in, basically saying he had deposited a large sum of money in her account and he needed to get it back out, and he was actually on the phone talking her through the steps that she needed to do. So what we would say to people, again, these are people, vulnerable people living on their own, where they're gathering that information. As we've kind of said, it's a network. So if you get a call in relation to anything like that, just hang up. Just hang up. Don't buy into it.
Yeah.
I had a call from somebody yesterday evening as well about this scam that's going around. It's sort of under the cover of Eurocop. We've noticed that you've been accessing unsavoury material on the internet. I spoke to Grania there. She says there's a step-by-step guide on our Facebook page and on the Garda website, which is www.garda.ie. People get very worried about these things. So,
well, it's to alarm you in the first instance, so that you drop your guard. I mean, that's what they're doing.
That's what it's all about. And I did the man who rang me, he was quite concerned yesterday evening. He said, I can't go to bed with this on my mind. What do I do? I said, just delete it, ignore it. The third thing is there was an appeal on Crime Call there last night about a fairly substantial robbery or burglary that was in Britain's in Donegal town back last October. You can watch it back there on the RT player, but it basically shows these guys going in, and again they had the place well. I've been over there with Mr. Britton and given advice. They had the place well. They were well. I had well sussed. They knew exactly what to do with the door, and they go in and break down through the cabinet. And he told me at the time, the injured party, they walked past a lot of valuable watches and stuff to get what they wanted to get, and they were literally in and out in 3 minutes.
So if anyone can
so
help, please
that
do.
appeal was done last night. So again,
right, okay.
So thanks.
I was watching that last night for the first time in a while.
I watched it last night too for the first time in a while.
That
I didn't
constant
think
ringing of the phones in the background. It's very old-fashioned, isn't it?
I think it is, and the sitting with pens and writing, and I think there was a couple of things about it.
There's a couple of things going on,
right?
With a couple of things going on with the way they set it up. There's not enough guards to answer the phones in studio, right? Which we know that's not the case. Or B, people will feel that their calls going unanswered because there's 3 or 4 guards there. The phones. I understand what they're trying to do it for ambience and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's a bit old-fashioned.
But funny
do away with
that you should say that. I watched it last night for the first time in a while, and I actually when it was just over, I just thought that needs a rejig. that was my thoughts. I just thought the music, the whole. The way it was presented needs to be moved up a gear, you know.
Right, okay. Listen, Paul, thank you very much for all
self-criticism.
That. It's only a bit of conversation.
www.garda.ie has a lot of good information there for people who are using the internet, even though we're nearly telling everyone not to use it. But
I don't
mean that.
I know exactly what you mean.
And the Donegal Garda Facebook page has a lot of stuff on it there as well. And we are available, and I'm available if anybody needs specific advice, that's my job.
All right, Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace, thank you very much for your time today. That was the Community Garda information item for this Tuesday, the 28th of June, and it's back with you on this programme next Tuesday.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Make this gardening season a lot easier with the great range of garden equipment at great prices in Watson Hire Letterkenny. Lawnmowers, trimmers and hedge cutters, scarifiers, power washers and much more for sale and hire. A full range of fertilisers and weed killers and great deals on paint and decorating accessories. All at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny. For more, see TikTok, Facebook or visit watsonhire.ie.
Remember a loved one with a personalised memorial, acknowledgement or wallet card from BizPrint using your choice of wording and background. Call in and speak to Catherine at BizPrint Port Road Letterkenny or call 9177955.
At AIB, we know how difficult switching your mortgage can be. The phone calls, paperwork and putting it on the long finger. But when you finally decide to go ahead, AIB are making switching easier. Our switching team are available over the phone in your local branch where you can apply online. Find out more at aib.ie. AIB, we back belief. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks plc is an authorised agent and servicer of AIB Mortgage Bank QC in relation to the origination and servicing of mortgage loans and mortgages. Allied Irish Banks plc and AIB Mortgage Bank QC are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. A caller says, I'm a 67-year-old male. My car insurance went from €486 to €607, including a €30 discount I got by ringing the firm up myself. I've never had a claim. My no claims bonus is intact. I have no penalty points. My whole family's insured with this company. The brokers have said that insurance in general has not gone up, but my daughter's premium has also increased. Is anyone else experiencing this? Well, you see, the first thing that jumps out at me from your text, and I really appreciate it, is this line. My whole family is insured with this company. You know, why? You will not be incentivized or cared or looked after for staying with that company. The only way you're going to save money, the only way you're going to match your old insurance policy is to shop around. There are many, many, many insurance companies there, and I would be flabbergasted if you couldn't get your insurance at $486 again this year or less. We need to stop being brand loyal. We have no engagement with insurance companies. They don't send us Christmas cards. They don't ring us up and see how we are. They don't care about us often. Brokers may be different. People can have a relationship with a broker. I'm not lumping them in. But my point is that shop around. Please shop around. Don't pay them the extra money, because I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee you, I would be astonished if you weren't able to perhaps even get a cheaper quote than that you had last year. Stop being so loyal. We're a loyal folk, aren't we? Okay, we're going to be speaking about the departure soon of the former HSE, he's the current HSE Chief Executive Paul Reid after this quick break.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
It's massive savings on garden furniture now in Home Store and More. You can save hundreds of euro on a great range of garden furniture, dining sets, rat and corner lounge sets, egg and hanging chairs, gazebos, and much more. See for yourself. It's massive savings on garden furniture now in your local Home Store and More, or online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre. Do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work. Great life. Great people. Where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
With a mix of the biggest names in retail, top local independent shops, and loads of great places to eat, it has to be Letterkenny. There's fantastic choice and value for money throughout the town. So for a special summer shopping experience, make it a day out in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie.
Now, the CEO of the HSE, Paul Reid, has advised the chairman, the board of the HSE and the Minister for Health that he'll be stepping down from his position later this year. He has agreed with the chairman that he will step down in December 2022 to facilitate a period to advance the process of selecting a successor. He said today, or yesterday, that he's got no immediate career plans and made the decision with a heavy heart. It was the hardest decision he's ever made, and he wants to spend more time with his family. Pat Harvey's a former chief executive of the North Western Health Board, and he joins us now. Pat, thanks for taking the call.
You're very welcome, Greg.
Okay, right. I mean, anyone listening to the interview Paul Reid, gave on RTE on Sunday would not have seen this coming on Monday. Are you surprised by the decision?
Yeah, I think we've all been caught on the hop with it. We didn't expect it, but it is what it is. I think Paul, whom I know, is a very, very fine health service manager. He has a long career and he's proven his worth. So I think it's a big loss to the HSE, there's no doubt about that. And I wish him well.
He was one of his qualities, I think, in getting the job in the first place was, how he can reform departments or areas that, and the health service was going through that. Yet in his statement, he suggests that, as the HSE is going through a period of change, maybe someone else might be better suited to do that. Obviously, the one thing the HSE was trying to do was to reform how Navan Hospital operates, and it was clear it was at loggerheads with the health minister and the rest of the government in that regard. Are you satisfied, Pat, that his relationship with the health minister didn't contribute to this decision?
Well, I have no knowledge of that. I have no reason to believe that is the case. I think it's more coincidence that the debate around Navan is taking place now, but I'm sure Paul didn't rush this decision. I'm sure he's been thinking about it for a while. I think it's more a reflection of Paul and the busyness of the job and the challenges of the last few years. And I think that's what has had all the bearing on his decision. I don't think the Navan issue would have caused something like this by any means.
We are seeing an exodus, really, from the health service, the CMO, his deputy, and other key figures in the health service, as well as Mr. Reid, departing at this time. Is that something we should be concerned about?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I know Tony Houlihan, a very fine chief medical officer. He's been around the system for years. Ronan Glynn, Anya O'Connor, all hugely respected people, and when you lose people like that to the system, you lose a huge amount of intelligence and knowledge of the system that you just don't gain overnight. They bring a huge amount to bear on all the decisions, that sort of background and knowledge, and I think it's a huge loss, yes. So Anya O'Connor was Chief Operating Officer next to Paul Reid. When you lose two people at the top of the service, you just lose a lot of intellectual capital. And I think it is significant. Why does it happen? These are good people. They're hotly sought after by others. I'm not saying that Paul Reid is going anywhere in particular, but people like that are kind of sought after. They bring a lot to any table. And we know that Anya O'Connor has moved on to other health areas. Ronan Glynn, probably the same. Tony Houlihan will not be lost to the system. So the pressures of the job as they exist, the all-consuming nature of it, the fact that there isn't much breathing space and much time for family life, I think these things all have a bearing, and it's
and I'd be conscious too that
it's a big challenge.
Yeah, of course, Pat, and I'm conscious too that there's probably nurses and carers listening to us, and it's a 24/7 situation for them too, and they're not quite as well resourced as rewarded as some of the people you're talking of there. Of course, they all came through a once in a century pandemic, and that is ongoing. The cyber attack and its fallout and the regrouping after that, but. do we not also maybe need to look at the fact that this is all under the stewardship as well of Stephen Donnelly, or can we disregard that being a factor in these people leaving? Because if it is a factor, it's something we would need to have a look at, is it not?
Well, I have no reason to believe that it is a factor. I don't want to be suggesting that there is something there in the undercurrent. I just don't know of it, and I'm not suggesting in that there may be something, so I just have no knowledge of that. I think that Paul Reid is probably moving on for his own personal reasons. And you're right, the system is full of people who put in all sorts of long hours and stressful times, and is Paul Reid's job any more stressful than that of somebody who works in an ICU with PPE gear on for months on end? Certainly not, but it is what it is. I just worry that the enormity of the task for the HSE in its present construct is almost kind of overwhelming. So the plans that we discussed before to somehow or other break it up into more manageable bite sizes, to have regional organisations, to have more by way of management and organisation at a more local level. I'm not saying going back to the health board days, but something more akin to that. I think that's a valuable direction to go in. I think Paul would have welcomed more progress on that sooner, but to be fair, COVID did take up all the time, and the cyber attack did take up all the time. Mm-hmm. But certainly the HSE as we know it is probably too big an entity to be as manageable as one would like it. Mm-hmm. And I just think that the sooner it moves on to the centre making the rules and the policies.
Yeah, and that is why Pat, this Navan situation jumps out at me again, because obviously you've got the HSE, you've got the experts on the ground, you've got people working within the health service there that they believe that this a change in how the hospital service is operated and that would have been best for patients and best for those working in the system. I mean, if Mr. Reid and his people couldn't get that one change over the line, who could get the type of reform that you're talking about over the line, especially when, you've got politics at play versus, people with a medical background wanting to do stuff.
Yeah. One of the reasons that the HSE was established was to try and take some of the local politics out of it, and there's evidence there that it's not that far removed yet. But in the final analysis, I think that the Navan change will take place. It has to take place. The clinical considerations, the safety of patients, just has to have the call on this here. I think how it's handled is another matter, but I don't know if you can justify maintaining Navan as it is with the absence of sufficient cover clinically is in the best interest of the local people. And you need to kind of bear in mind that Navan is no further from, say, Connolly Hospital than Donegal Town is from Letterkenny. Mm. You wouldn't be dreaming of having an A&E department of the Navan scale in Donegal Town. So I just think that people have been used to it in Navan. Navan's gone through a lot of changes. It's gone into orthopaedics and so on. But anything you have, there's a kind of reluctance to lose it. But sometimes it just makes the best of good sense to do that. I mean, if you go back over the years, Leitrim had its own county hospital in Our Lady's Hospital in Hamilton. There were just so many changes that had to take place over the years because of clinical need, and people settle into a new pattern then.
Mm. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story. A draft unpublished National Cardiac Review document has been leaked. It's in the hands of Sinn Féin. The fear is it will have a huge impact on services in the Northwest. Apparently, there's no reference to cardiac services in the Northwest at all, that all roads lead to Galway. It's due to be published later this year. If that were the strategy, the direction of traffic, would that surprise you, given your obvious experience and background, Pat?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not sure what the detail in that report is. I haven't seen it. So I'm not sure whether it means that what you have in Letterkenny is lost to Letterkenny. But I do understand that the greater concentration of acute cardiac care in some major centres is the direction of travel, and it makes good sense. I mean, if I have a heart attack in the morning, I want to be in the best of places. I want to have it rapidly available to me. It's no different from the cancer services. They went and concentrated cancer in 8 major centres in the country. That just made good sense. That's not to say that Letterkenny can't have some element of breast care and so on, and some element of cancer services, but that's just the nature of it. You need that concentration. And people, you only have to look, Greg, at the number of people who are quite happy to travel to Dublin and Galway for services when it comes to their own particular needs, and where they're advised that the best care is available only in some of these major centres. That's just in the nature of things.
Okay, interesting insight. Pat, thanks as always. Lovely to chat to you again.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Pat Harvey there, former Chief Executive of the Northwestern Health Board. And interesting, he picked up on the fact that them not being mentioned doesn't necessarily mean these services that are currently at Letterkenny might be scaled back. But in the absence of us seeing that document in full and being able to ask questions on it, we have to suppose. I know the likes of Donegal Action for Cancer Care through Betty Holmes and others are also trying to get some clarification from the Health Minister in relation to those plans. But publish the document. Listen, it's out there now. Might as well publish it so we can have a more informed conversation. Well said, Pat Harvey, a gentleman who ran the hospital alongside a matron, and that's how it should go back to. Local management is the only way. No one wants Tony Holohan as the lead anymore. He'll not be missed. It's time the Chief Medical Officer and the HSC had a female lead. Let's see if a female lead can do a better job of the mess. She certainly can't be any worse. I know people who have issues with Tony Holohan for a number of reasons. It could be COVID, it could be cervical check scandal. Would be glad to see him go. But I also know there's an awful lot of people out there that hung on his every word and will miss him as well. I'm not sure what the split is, but there certainly is different views out there on Tony Holohan and his legacy. A caller says, in relation to the volume of people attending the ED, it's the system which is wrong. There is no way anyone waiting on an X-ray should have to sit in ED. The ED is supposed to be about accidents and emergencies. Most people there are in the wrong place. A quarter should be able to attend X-ray directly. Another quarter should be seeing their GP. The issue could be easily resolved if Doc was moved up beside the ED and able to use the services of the hospital directly. Now, we did speak to a GP, Ballabafay GP, Dr. O'Farry, and he said that his information, reliable information from people who triage in the emergency department, was that very few people who are in ED at the moment shouldn't be there. Very, very few. That was the information he had. Minuscule in the wider scale of things. That's just to add to your point, not to contradict it. This caller wants to know why I cannot get a hold of my GP. I've tried to get hold of the doctors all day yesterday and this morning, and I'm not getting an answer. My partner is sick, and it's all just very worrying. Well, I hope you get sorted soon. I'm sorry to hear that your partner is sick. Unfortunately, access to GPs over the phone can be hit and miss. Some people claim they've got success in communicating with them via email. I'm not sure if your GP services has that option. A caller is not sad to see Tony Holohan go. They're not happy with his role, and there's some allegations which are unfounded to the point where I can mention them as it relates to the cervical check scandal. But I hear you, and I've read your comment there in as much as I can from a legal perspective. Some comments from Facebook. In the case of houses with mailboxes, and this is a good one, by the way, there is a regular security problem where advertisers stick posters and mail in the door jamb or on the step and are telling everyone that the house is empty. Yeah, indeed. And even sometimes, and this is not on the postal service, but even sometimes when you ask for that post not to be delivered by third parties, it still gets delivered. Greg, Facebook is full of scams. They use other people's profile, letting on they're you. It's terrible. It is. And what I wanted to mention as well, and it's doing the round in this part of the world, I'm sure everywhere, is these messages to your WhatsApps claiming to be a family member. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Granny. Hi, Granddad. This is, I've lost my phone. I'm using a friend's phone. All my stuff has been robbed. Obviously, the idea being we text back in a panic saying, oh, whatever their name is, what's the story? What can I do? Could you send me a few quid so I can get a bus home or whatever it might be? That's a very popular scam that's going around at the moment, so keep your eyes out for that one as well.
A massive summer footwear clearance sale is now on in McGarrigle Shoes, Letterkenny. All sandals and other summer footwear must go, with up to 50% off. Don't miss out on great savings right now in McGarrigle Shoes, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Lidl's inflation-busting offers will put some sizzle in your step. Our Board B approved smoky barbecue or spicy sriracha Irish sizzle steak double packs are only $3.79 each. Get 6 juicy tomatoes for just 49 cents, and our crispy Italian lettuce packs are down from 99 cents to just 75 cents. Steak offers are well done at Lidl. More for you.
On the 17th of June, we have the all-new Nissan Ariya in the showroom for one day only. Make sure to call in and see what you've been waiting for all these years. The ultimate electric car to enter the market, now taking orders at iMotors, Letterkenny and Malin.
Looking for the ultimate makeover for your home? Revive a special room conservatory or sunroom? Look no further. Hardwood Plantation Shutters is your answer. A stunningly beautiful piece of furniture that will totally enhance the look and bring ambience to any area of your home. Luxurious and classically modern, and manufactured here in the Northwest. Any size, shape or colour. Call or check out our website, Plantation Shutters Ireland. Also on Facebook and Instagram.
Breedon's Furniture, Cooley-Maville. With over 40 years of experience in furniture and floor coverings, they've got Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining, flooring, slide robes and occasional furniture. Great prices and large selection now available at Breedon's Home Furnitures, Cooley-Maville.
Okay, don't forget, if you want to watch the rest of the programme, all of the programme, in fact, every single day, go on our website, highlandradio.com, or hop on our Facebook pages or on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. Let's get a news update at 11 o'clock and say good morning to Emma Ryan. Hi, Emma.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Fears over the future of Muff Garda station remain. The Garda press office yesterday confirmed that there are no plans in place to close the Garda station. However, Gardaí are being redeployed from Muff to Burnfoot, which has caused much concern in the area that this would result in the closure of the station. The Taoiseach says it's high about time the UK holds talks with the EU on the protocol. Legislation to scrap parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol was passed in the House of Commons last night. It will now face further scrutiny in Parliament next month before it goes to the House of Lords. Gardaí have warned people about wasting emergency services time after tyres were set on fire close to Buncrana. On Thursday last, at around 11:50 p.m, Gardaí received a report of a fire on the Mountain Road, Buncrana. It was established that tyres and other debris had been set alight. Crime Prevention Officer Sergeant Paul Wallace says incidents like these result in valuable response time being delayed and potentially puts lives at risk. Gardaí are investigating 2 houses after 2 houses in Milford had their front windows smashed. During the early hours of Monday morning, 2 houses in the area of the Loch Road, Milford, had their front sitting room windows smashed. It is believed that entry was not gained to either property. A motorist has been arrested after being caught drink driving in the Donegal town area. The Donegal Roads Policing Unit detected a vehicle travelling at 132 km per hour in a 100 km per hour zone last night. The driver subsequently failed a preliminary roadside breath test and was arrested. Police in Derry have described incidents in the Gallia area yesterday as disappointing. A road was partially blocked yesterday evening by burning pallets, while 2 Northern Ireland Housing Executive vehicles were damaged by masonry thrown by young people who had gathered in the Fairview Road area. And finally, an East Donegal cycling group has welcomed improvements made on the Balbafay to Donegal Town Road after they raised safety concerns. Earlier this year, Finn Wheeler Cycling Club launched a campaign for a hard shoulder to be added to a 750 metre stretch known as McGrory's Brae. A side road has now been added, but cyclist Brian Mcelhinney believes more needs to be done. That's all for now. We'll be back with news again at 12 noon.
Thanks, Emma.
And now, a modern masterpiece. The new Italian stack from McDonald's. 2 100% Irish beef burgers with mozzarella, crispy onions, lettuce, a rich tomato sauce, and a cheese sauce, all in a tomato and herb-style bun. And next in the collection, the crispy chicken Italiano with tomato, mozzarella, red onion, lettuce, and a basil pesto-style sauce. Bellissimo.
Holiday from home with the McDonald's summer menu. Available until the 26th of July. From 11 a.m, subject to availability.
The independent organisation offering free legal advice to those who cannot afford it has said the demand for its services last year outstripped its resources. FLAC said there were more than 13,000 calls to its telephone information line, but many more callers obviously could not get through. And the organisation says there is a crisis around people's ability to access justice, particularly in relation to family law and employment matters. Christopher Bowes is legal officer with FLAC. He joins us now. Good morning, Christopher. How are you?
Morning, I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
No, it's good to have you with us. Okay, so what has, do you think, led to this huge increase in calls? 13,000 over the course of a year. That's a lot of calls per day.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that this is our highest number of calls we've seen coming into our telephone information line since 2015. And we saw a similar number last year. And I think the number of calls that come into our phone line, I think really can be indicative of the kind of issues people are facing day to day. So numbers haven't been this high in terms of the phone line, as I said, since 2015 in the aftermath of the Great Recession. And now since the onset of COVID, we've seen a whole different set of issues crop up for people that are affecting them day to day.
Well, I was just wondering, say, for instance, obviously there's a lot of people might have been unhappy with, mask mandates in the workplace, or maybe for their children, and other issues surrounding COVID regulations. Do you know how much, if at all, that contributed to this volume of calls?
Actually, well, COVID definitely played a part, but actually not with those kind of issues that you raised. What we saw was actually much more day-to-day issues that did indeed arise from COVID. So, for example, in relation to employment, you see the kind of contractual issues people might have had, i.e. whether they're required to go back into work, whether they're allowed to work from home, so those sort of issues. We've also seen this huge turnover in employment lately, so people have had a lot of questions about cessation of employment and that whole area. And then again, COVID also on the family law side, which you mentioned, gave rise to a whole new raft of queries. This was primarily now in 2020, before 2021, which today's report was discussing. But during the COVID-19 period, we would have seen a lot of questions, for example, in relation to custody agreements and access to children and how COVID restrictions affected those. We also saw during COVID, obviously, huge disruptions to people's income and employment. And then on the family law side, that gave rise to a whole number of questions as to how that, for example, affected maintenance agreements and the payment of maintenance. So COVID has been a huge factor, and it continued to be a huge factor throughout 2021.
And there's other areas too, which we'll get into, but I just want to drill down a little bit on some of the things you've mentioned there. So in terms of FLAC's role here, ordinarily, if it was fully resourced, do you give people advice? Do you signpost them? Can you represent them? What is the actual role of FLAC? So if I ring you with say, for instance, the custody issues that you gave the example of, and we received a lot of calls at that time, funny enough, as it relates to that issue. What does FLAC ordinarily do, or what can it do?
Yeah, so all of the above is what we try to do. So FLAC is an independent organisation distinct from the state's legal aid board, which administers the civil legal aid scheme and provides legal representation. Now, we provide legal representation in a very limited number of strategic cases, but in terms of these day-to-day issues, what we do is we work in two ways. One, we have the telephone information line, which we've been discussing, where we can provide people with basic legal information. And we also run FLAC clinics, which since COVID have been operating remotely, where people can receive once-off legal advice in relation to their queries. And as you mentioned, yes, we can signpost people on to other services, and we would signal the availability of legal aid in many instances to people. But unfortunately, there are a number of areas where we had nowhere to refer people onto. So as I was saying earlier on, employment law issues have been a huge factor over the last year. However, the state system of civil legal aid doesn't cover employment law claims that come before the WRC, the Workplace Relations Commission. So we had almost 2,000 employment law queries last year. And unfortunately, the harsh reality is, because there's no legal aid for where someone is considering taking a claim to the Workplace Relations Commission, either for an employment issue or for a discrimination issue, there's in fact nowhere we can send them. Now, in many cases, if someone rings the phone line, we can arrange for them to have a consultation with an employment lawyer, but that's a once-off consultation. And unfortunately, we simply don't have the capacity to represent people in those sort of cases.
And people do require representation in those cases, I presume, then?
Well, that's the interesting thing. Tribunals like the Workplace Relations Commission are, in theory, supposed to be accessible for an individual to take a case on their own in an employment law matter. However, what the experience we see is that where someone has an employment law case, takes it to the WRC, they come up against their employer who has lawyered up, and oftentimes an individual goes into the WRC, sits down across the table from not only their employer, but also at least one solicitor and at least one barrister, in many cases a junior barrister and senior counsel, and is then expected to make their claim on their own and unassisted without any recourse to legal advice or legal representation. And in those kind of cases, FLAC has repeatedly highlighted that there's a huge inequality of arms. So while it might be possible for someone to lodge a claim to the Workplace Relations Commission on their own, to actually represent themselves in the face of, you know, a lawyered up employer or respondent is a hugely difficult.
Yeah, well, that system's clearly not working. And as well, too, people might say, well, if it's issues of housing, and I understand there was a lot of contacts as it relates to housing, is that not what the Residence Tenancy Board is there for?
It's the exact same situation in the Residential Tenancies Board. Again, it's supposed to be an accessible tribunal, but unfortunately, again, we see instances where people are going up against lawyered up landlords in the RTB. And the absence of legal aid for these tribunals is a huge issue, because these kinds of issues, these day-to-day issues, housing and employment, and indeed social welfare discrimination, are in fact the kinds of legal issues that can have a huge impact on people's day-to-day lives and their rights. And I suppose it's important to note that when I talk about legal aid and access to justice in these kinds of instances, I don't just mean access to representation, we also mean access to legal advice and legal information, because what we see in many instances is where someone has access to good quality legal advice in the first instance early on, it can actually prevent a legal problem from becoming so serious that it actually ends up coming before a court or tribunal. So I think when we talk about reforming legal aid and how we vindicate people's right of access to justice, we have to open up the conversation beyond just legal representation in serious cases or cases that end up before a court or tribunal, but start talking about resourcing citizens to have access to the sort of legal advice and information they need early on.
Yeah, and who plugs these gaps then? You know, because this requires kind of a bit of an overhaul in a lot of the way we deal with disputes, because at the same time too, you know, we can't. We have to triage this in some way. You know, you have to be able to weed out. You'd have to be able to weed out, you know, people that are maybe have the wrong motivations for pursuing things or what have you. You know, is there a model that we can look at and say, well, they do it correctly, we could employ something similar to that?
Yeah, so I suppose what we're talking about, and I think the best way to deal with these kind of situations, I think what's really needed is an overhaul of the civil legal aid system, because when we're talking about legal aid, the main criteria or barrier for accessing legal aid at the moment is a very strict means test, which is you can access legal aid for the areas of law which are covered, which is primarily family law, if you have less than €18,000 per year in disposable income. What we're saying is that kind of means test, is far too strict, and in the face of a cost of living crisis, it's just completely unrealistic, but it has been outdated for a number of years now. But also, we need to move away from this means test model and start looking to a system of civil legal aid, which actually examines the merits and the potential importance of a case, not just for the individual, but some cases, as we've seen here, can have a much broader impact in terms of setting precedent. So we think exactly, we need to not just be looking at the particular circumstances of the person and very strict examination of their means, but start looking at a system of civil legal aid that looks at the merits of the issue itself and uses that as the main factor in assessing whether someone can access legal representation.
Okay, it's interesting stuff, and I think the conversation will resonate with a lot of people listening today. Christopher, we'll see if anyone, you know, who makes these decisions picks up on this, because the figures are huge. For now, though, Christopher Bowes, thanks very much indeed. Take care of yourself. Thank you. He is legal officer with FLAC, the Free Legal Aid Committee, is it? Okay. Any views on that? 086 60 25,000. A lot of you getting involved in a conversation about Peter Reid's departure from the HSE and the broader conversation that we had with Pat Harvey. We're going to be getting to some of your comments on that issue and the rest of the day's topics after the break.
If you've got great photos sitting on your phone or in the cloud, why not visit mcgees.ie and see the range of creative options available. Get larger 7x5 prints for the same price as the standard 6x4s, with 100 prints for just €12. Or select from the great range of photo gifts like mouse and placemats, phone covers, jigsaws and clocks. Click and collect or have them delivered. See what you can do with your favourite photos online at mcgees.ie.
Quick, write this number down. 91 48 234. Fleming Doors, you know. Industrial doors, garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mcelhinney, are recruiting for their IT, training and customer service teams, with both in-office and hybrid opportunities available. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential, as full training is provided for customer service roles. Please visit their website www.forwardemphasis.ie and apply via their careers page.
Enjoy the summer fun at the historic Lifford Old Courthouse with activities for all ages. Try to escape from a real cell in Jailbreak, Donegal's only escape room activity, or experience life as a prisoner in an interactive guided tour with a difference. Lifford Old Courthouse. Find out more at liffordoldcourthouse.com.
All right, some of your comments here. Caller says, Paul Reid must have seen the light about the HSC and the way it's working in all the damning reports, especially about the delay in cancer diagnoses at Letterkenny University Hospital. Stephen Donnelly admitted on the RTE that he knows nothing about health to get the Minister for Health portfolio. I don't recall hearing that quote. Disgusted listening to Pat Harvey, worse than a politician. Mr. Reid, on a huge salary as CEO of a huge company enterprise, which was the HSE, it was his job to manage. Now they're talking about going back to regional models. So the Health Board and his last assertion that people are happy to travel for expert medical treatment living in Donegal means we often have no option. Greg, Pat implies people are happy to travel. What planet is he on? Ask someone getting out of bed at 4 or 5 a.m. to get a bus to Galway at 6 in Letterkenny for cancer treatment. Scandalous, Greg. That comes in from Liam. Pat Harvey, what world is he living in? That's what's wrong with this country. People like him travelling from North Donegal to Galway for treatment. It is a disaster. This man, Paul Reid, has walked from the HSE, leaving a complete mess. He should have been sacked a long time ago. Him being rewarded is sickening. Well, if you listen to, and even the opposition haven't really come out all guns blazing, but certainly the government spokespeople I've heard of so far believe he done a sterling job. Why everyone chatting about the great job Paul Reid has done? Really, let's call a spade a spade. The HSE is in the worst shape ever. Letterkenny Hospital car park. Now that's another matter. Right, okay. And a few more coming in on different subjects. But we are joined on the programme now by the new Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council, Councillor Liam Blaney. Good morning to you, and congratulations, Liam.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you very much.
Okay, what does this mean personally to you to be elevated to the position of Cathaoirleach?
Well, it's a great honour for anybody that's elected Donegal County Council to get that role for a year. And I'm just delighted, happening to work on the council, that I have that position now, and I can make the best use possible out of it.
What do you hope to achieve in as much as you can? Because obviously, you know, we're facing some of the biggest crises we have in some time, and of course not least in Donegal, because we have the defective concrete blocks issue. We've got a general housing issue. You know, we are seeing an awful lot of roads projects perhaps not going ahead as contractors pull out of them, so that's an infrastructural issue. Then the general cost of living and council services. There's a lot there, Liam.
There's a lot there, and you know, you'd like to say that you'll try and do something with everything that you talked about, but the year doesn't belong to none, and it takes a long time, a lot longer than a year maybe to sort out a lot of them things. But look, you mentioned the defective materials and defective blocks in it, as far as making and other issues with blocks, and I know it's gone through the processes and the Dáil and the Senate at the minute, but I would like to see a conclusion to that as soon as possible. To, I suppose, to relieve the turmoil and the stress and the frustration that the homeowners have, and that they've been living with for a long time. And it's not going to be sorted overnight either. It's still going to take a long time to sort it, but we want to see it started. And hopefully, I'll try to put pressure on as far as that's concerned. But look, that's a very complex issue. What's happening there, and the whole issue of the defective blocks, and it's not something that I want to have a huge say in. But anywhere I can, and as much as I can, I will be doing what I can on it.
Yeah. You also are talking of a charter of rights for council employees. Talk to me a little bit about that.
after having had discussions with numerous staff of Donegal County Council, I believe that there should be a charter drawn up to ensure that the council employees feel less under stress, and as to ensure that they have respect and dignity in the workplace, and that is protected. And I think that if that was the case, that they would feel happier in the workplace, and we would get more out of them as well as that. But I think for anybody that doesn't feel, that feels under pressure or doesn't feel safe in the workplace, I think that shouldn't be the way.
Okay.
And that has to change.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen.
And there has to be respect. I want to bring respect back to the council chamber as well. Respect for council colleagues, for staff, for everybody involved, and respect for the chair.
How do you do that?
I hope that play your head as well.
Yeah, of course.
Well, there's a rule book here in front of us, Greg. There's a code of conduct and there's standing orders, and that has to be enforced. And the previous chair has made a good job on enforcing that again, because it hadn't been enforced for a long time. And I think that it's time that it was enforced again, and anybody has a problem with them rules or any of them rule books, that there's procedures to go and get them changed and put whatever the majority of councillors feel should be going into that rule book. That can be done and should be done. But I intend to, with the tools I have there at present, to enforce them as the best of my ability.
Okay.
And therefore, I believe that we'll have a better working council over the head out.
All right, well, we'll watch on with interest. Again, congratulations, and we'll see what the year holds. That's Councillor Liam Blaney there, the new Cahirlock of Donegal County Council. He is going to be assisted in his role by the new last Cahirlock. That is South Donegal Fianna Fáil Councillor Mihal Nocton. He's replacing outgoing Chair Martin McDermott, and as you heard, Councillor Blaney there, he is replacing outgoing Cahirlock Jack Murray. Right, a caller says, and this is, it relates to the conversation we were having earlier on, the appeal as it relates to benches being stolen. Taking benches, how low can these culprits go? It's just pure badness, nothing else. Hope they are caught. Indeed, I just can't see a market or use for them. It just seems disruptive. I got a quote. This is car insurance. I have got a quote for myself, a 49-year-old female, and my 17-year-old learner licensed son since May for $1,250, €1,250. That's with the AA. That seems really, really good. I think you would agree, would it? It seems low to me, especially to have a learner license, learner permit holder on the policy as well, as he gets his own wings or his own wheels. That's good. Shopped around. They got that with the AA, they say. That's pretty good. Right. Now, what about this? A website listing accommodation for this year's Irish Open is charging how much for the week? €40,000. Now, I'd won a lot for €40,000. The available properties are listed on accommodation for the event, a website for golfing tournaments. The houses start from €2,000, with a number of properties listed at €20,000, according to the Examiner newspaper. The tournament gets underway this coming Thursday at Mount Juliet in County Kilkenny. Now, I presume maybe some of these properties are for players, are they, or their teams that might have a lot of money? I don't know. €40,000? It's crazy. Could you play a request, please, to congratulate my brother Chris Doherty and his 3 friends, Cahill Wilson, Patrick Morning and Robert Kavanagh. They cycled from Mizzen to Malin in less than 23 hours on Sunday from all the family. This is a great achievement. Well done. It is a superb achievement. That really is. They left Mizzen at 10:50am on Saturday and arrived at Malin at 9:30am on Sunday morning. They didn't take many breaks, did they? That's some going. Margaret Kelly's in Ballabafay. Happy 88th birthday to you, Margaret. From Jeanette, Paul and grandchildren Kelly, Shannon, Leanne, Lily and April. Margaret Gallagher, you're in Burnfoot, as you know. Happy birthday to you from Liam, Bridget and family in Granshire in Buncrana. Okay, that is The Cure, and it's Close to Me. Right, is your name, the initials of your name, AP? Are you a female? And did you recently get a new Revolut card? Because one's been handed here into the station. It was found in and around Letterkenny. So the initials on it are AP, and it seems a new Revolut card. You haven't signed the back of it yet. Okay, but anyway, listen, we want to get back to you. The good thing with Revolut, of course, is that you can go on your app and lock it off. But it's a nuisance trying to order a new car. So if you're a female and your initials are AP and you lost your Revolut card around Letterkenny, someone found it and decided to hand it into us here at Highland Radio at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny. We want to get it back to you. Right, okay, so if you're an AP, we have it for you. Congratulations to Liam Blaney, says this listener, a real gentleman who has real Irish politics in his vein. That comes in from Helen and Mary. Another caller says the micro issue was allowed to happen on Councillor Blaney's party's watch, and the present housing minister is Fianna Fáil. Of course, there's a separation in local and national politics, even amongst TDs. Right, okay, we were talking yesterday about the access to Rathmullen Beach and the access to the wheelchair that's designed in such a way that you can take it onto the beach. And it was Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh, wasn't it, who said he would try and get us the new number. And that new number is as follows. We'll retain it here for those of you who have a need for it. So it's the to get access to the Rathmullen Beach wheelchair. It's requests at weekends and after 5 p.m. This is, by the way, 087 231 4332. 087 231 4332. So that's good to see that resolved, and it means that people should be able to get access to it at the weekends and after 5, because it was in the it's there up until the mid-August in the training centre, I think it was. Pardon my ignorance, I think it was. It slipped my mind. But anyway, that's good. That's information for you that might be useful to some.
At On Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. On Post. Your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Driving a Fiat 500e is choosing an all-new, all-electric car with an impressive range and not to 80% fast charging in 30 minutes. It's choosing a car that's so full of tech it will confidently and safely drive you into the next decade. It's choosing to believe in a better tomorrow. Welcome back, future. Fiat 500e prices start at €24,995 after government subsidies. Book a test drive at Joseph Doherty Limited, Moville, or visit fiat.ie.
When spending time at our beaches, rivers and lakes, put water safety first. Safe always supervises children closely. Safe wears a life jacket when boating or angling. Safe swims within your depth and stays within your depth. This is Water Safety Ireland. Better safe than sorry. For advice, visit watersafety.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
You know, it seems here in Donegal in the northwest, and I think maybe more so than anywhere, it's a constant battle to try and retain or improve health services. We are constantly fighting. Why do we have to constantly fight for these things? Why do the fights always start with leaked documents that we find out by accident or design? Someone making that information available to the public, and then we become aware of it. We try and get more information, and then we join the fight to try and retain what I think most of us feel we have a right to: equal access, and fair access to the health system. This is our lives. This is what we have. We're all going to die, and the healthcare service, as much as possible, is there to try and ensure that we are as healthy for as long as is possible. Why do we have to fight for that all the time? Well, one of those always in the thick of it is Betty Holmes, spokesperson for Donegal Action for Cancer Care. Betty, good morning to you. You've already made contact with the Health Minister off the back of this leaked document that doesn't mention cardiac services for the Northwest. So we don't know.
No. Sorry, Greg, not on the leaked document. We raised it regarding the whole thing about the angio. We wrote our email on the 7th of June. We weren't aware of the leaked document at all. We raised it and we're very good at reading documents, and we were following up because of the angiogram service and how it was threatened. And we followed up on that. And then we discovered that there was a review happening, and doing this from memory, I think it was started in 2018. And the report was due to be published in February, March this year, and then was being delayed. And I'm doing it from memory again, I think it's October, November. So we had very serious concerns because as well, within the terms of reference for that, the second point was patients have access to service based on clinical need rather than geographic location. So again, we were asking, would Letterkenny Hospital and Donegal patients be excluded again based on geography? And we asked the Minister, had he forgotten the DACC map? And realistically, if clinical need rather than geography, then clinical need should be where the patient needs it. And if you're the cardiac patient and you need the service, clinical need is in your local area, not halfway down the map of Ireland.
Yeah, but the problem is, Betty, problem is, and we'll tease it out a bit more, the problem is that, though, the two things that you mentioned, clinical need, it seems to be trumped by, the HSE believing that they need to identify centres where the best treatment is given and are somewhat unapologetic that people may have to travel for that. So I think the criteria that you're looking for the health services to be dictated by is not the same criteria that the health services are being run by, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but Greg, one of the things we have to remember regarding the angiogram service at Letterkenny, because we were very active on that as well. And you remember at that time, when we wrote to the CEO of the Celta Group, at that time we had actually asked for the name of the 3-person expert panel that was going to review the service. Now, they actually came back and gave the green light to Letterkenny Hospital. So we're concerned if an expert panel, part of the Celta Group, and we've been told that they're qualified to make those decisions, actually gave the green light to the angiogram service at Letterkenny Hospital, are we going to say then at national level, and remember the buck stops with Minister Donnelly on this because in that document the modus operandi is that the chairperson of the review group will present the report of the review to the Minister for Health. And as we said to the Minister Donnelly, it stops with him, Greg. But the thing is, if we have an expert panel, a 3-person expert panel who came up to the angiogram service at Letterkenny University Hospital and gave it the green light, then there's always political politics, but there's medical politics and managerial politics, and we've always said we're not sure which is the worst. So are we going to say that this expert panel who gave the green light to Letterkenny Hospital, and now it's not going to be good enough to be part of this review of cardiac services that'll be published? That's just not acceptable,
It's contradictory as well. It's confusing.
It's a total contradiction. So and we got no answer back. We don't get answers back now. Nobody, we just keep the pressure on. No, we did actually CC it to Pat Nash, who's the clinical director of the Celta Health Service executive, but he's also part of the Cardiac Services Steering Group membership. We felt that Pat needed to be aware that we were making sure that the review of Letterkenny Hospital, the angiogram service, got the green light, and that shouldn't be lost. And we sent this on, Greg, to the Donegal Minister and deputies as well. So we need them to step up to the mark because it can't happen. And if we're talking, our key point was again about clinical needs and geographic location. Hold on a minute. clinical need is in the angiogram service at Letterkenny Hospital, not in Dublin or Galway,
So
where you travel down the country.
I want to make sure I fully understand this, and all of our listeners do as well. Okay, so I think we broadly welcomed the news because we were afraid that we were going to lose some services because of this private company pulling out of the Irish market. So we broadly welcomed the news, I think, that the cardiac catheterization, angioplasty services will be retained at Letterkenny University Hospital. And we were told at that time that we might even start using this €750,000 of public funded equipment used to its more of its capacity. So that was welcome broadly. Now, of course, the opposition through, I think, Padraig McLaughlin says that everything might not be as it seems. I believe Thomas Pringle said the same as well. So we're clear. What is happening or has happened that is, in your mind, putting that good news under threat, if you know what I mean? I know you've explained it, Betty, but I want to be sure that we all get it.
Well, for us, the review that started in 2018, at that time there wouldn't have been the in-situ angiogram service at Letterkenny Hospital. So how could it be included in a report that was due to be published in February, March this year? Because that angiogram service has been a very recent one. Now, we have an expert panel who are part of the Sale to University Hospital group, which Letterkenny University Hospital falls under, came up, looked at the angiogram service at Letterkenny University Hospital very recently, gave the green light, and said, basically, this is my words, fit for purpose. So why are we now talking about a report that is going to potentially exclude cardiac services, angiogram services at Letterkenny University Hospital? Are we saying that at government level, I suppose it is at Minister Donnelly's door, that the expert panel that came up as part of the Sale to University Hospital group, who monitor and are, I suppose, responsible for services in this area, that their opinion is not acceptable
now, is
at
this,
national level?
This report that you talk of now, is this the same document that Sinn Féin has in its possession that we were talking about earlier?
I'm assuming it is, yes.
Right,
because that's the document, the National Review of Specialist Cardiac Services.
Now,
and that's the document I assume that they're talking about.
The thing that confuses me about this document, which I haven't seen and you haven't seen, and I'm not questioning its validity or Sinn Féin's reading of it, right, is that the absence of any real reference to these services in Donegal, no reference to any cross-border enhancements, right? Which I think this government's pretty committed to sort of an all-Ireland approach in certain areas. So in the absence of that, could we maybe suggest that maybe this document isn't complete? Because it can't be complete without some reference to...
Sorry, Greg. I believe that the document isn't complete, and I believe that because, I suppose, of the political and people power in Donegal that ensured that the review of the angiogram services at Letterkenny happened, that we are hoping that with the pressure that we're putting on as our elected representatives and other people, that service now will be included in this document. But again, if we're talking, the document was due to be published initially February, March, and then it's been put on hold to October, November. And as I said, I'm doing the October, November from memory. So we're hoping that Letterkenny University Hospital will now be included in that document.
Okay, and that's why I just want to, it's very important that we shine a very bright spotlight, but also what we need is more information to ensure that the concerns that we have. So we are going to endeavour to get answers from the HSC along the lines of what you said. In other words, you know, I don't imagine they're going to comment on this draft document. I will say, I suggest...
I couldn't... No.
They will say that this is a draft document, this is not complete, this was not for public consumption. It has to include a direct reference to the services that's currently at Letterkenny University Hospital. It has to make some reference to some sort of cross-border cooperation. And according to the Sinn Féin deputy we spoke to earlier, it doesn't. So we need to find out where this document's at, what's in it, and is there going to be a commitment to services in Letterkenny? And that can put our minds at ease, or it can strengthen the campaign to reverse any negative decisions. That's where I feel that's where we're at, Betty.
I think so too. But Greg, there's a very, very key important point as well. Well, the whole thing is very, very serious. But if Letterkenny University Hospital angiogram services and cardiac services are not included in this report, then we have to ask, what does that say at national level? That of the opinion that they have of the 3-person expert panel that came up to review the services. Are we saying that when experts actually review services at Letterkenny Hospital, that it's not worth the paper it's wrote on? Is their opinions and expert opinions and recommendations not acceptable?
My belief is that that their opinions and their recommendations will be included in this final report, because
I'm hopeful. For us in BACC, we're keeping a tight eye on it, Greg. As you know, we sit tightly.
Of course, because there was perfect opportunity, I think, for the HSE to downgrade those services at Letterkenny University Hospital if they wanted to. Now, they clearly didn't want to, or they had to listen to the public and the campaign. I just can't imagine that this final document doesn't reference any cross-border cooperation, or would not reference the developments over the last couple of months. But until we see that, Betty, we just have to keep the pressure on. That's what you're saying.
Well, we'll be sitting very tightly on it, Craig. As you know, as I said, that we sent it on the 7th of June. We sent it the next day to the Donegal Minister and deputies. We've been following up on it, but maybe we're not on anybody's Christmas card list at the minute, Greg.
Well, we don't need Christmas cards. We just need health services. Isn't that it, Betty?
No, I mean that they just don't like answering us.
Yeah, well, sometimes a lack of, and that's what I say to people that say on this program, well, why do you interview that person? Sometimes a non-answer is more important than an answer at times, but we'll see. Listen, thank you very much for your time, as always.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you,
and for
your
contribution. I appreciate it greatly. Okay, that is spokesperson for Donegal Action for Cancer Care, although they have a broad remit, as you know. Betty Holmes there, but we will endeavour to get the answers, and I'll continue to keep asking the questions. Be a pain, right? Okay. Do you think we need more TDs in Donegal? I think you kind of know, though I'm not really supposed to give an opinion, but it's a different type of show than straight up news. I suggest we need more nurses. I think we need better paid nurses. I think we need more SNAs. We need better paid SNAs. We need more and better paid childcare workers. I think we should have a minimum amount of those people per head of population. Do we at this time need more TDs? Do we need to be extending the door to facilitate their bums? I'm not quite so sure. We'll hear what Councillor Michael McClafferty thinks after this break.
McDade's Bathroom, Plumbing and Tiles, serving the Northwest for over 40 years. Explore our showroom with more than 40 displays. Choose from an array of shower doors, shower trays, baths and bathroom accessories. Speak with an expert about tile selection and wall panelling. We also stock an array of plumbing, heating and stove spare parts, as well as a great selection of kitchen mixers and radiators at our trade counter. Our stove department is also available for you to choose a style that suits your needs and complements your home. McDade's Bathroom, Plumbing, Tiles, Buncrana. We're here for you.
The National Brown Bread Baking Competition, sponsored by Aldi in conjunction with the NPA and ICA, is back. This year's winner will pocket €15,000 and get to sell their prize loaf in Aldi stores for a whole year. The champion will be announced on the 22nd of September at the National Ploughing Championships in Ratheniska, County Laois. Visit aldi.ie/brown-bread-competition for details. Not trying to butter you up, but we know you can do it. Aldi, everyday amazing.
When did you last have your intruder alarm serviced? Intruder alarms should be serviced and maintained regularly in accordance with the manufacturer's guidelines. Only Private Security Authority licensed contractors can legally install and maintain intruder alarms. You are breaking the law if you used an unlicensed contractor and may also invalidate your insurance cover. Have a Private Security Authority licensed contractor check your alarm and keep you secure. For more information, visit psa-gov.ie.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. So obviously following on from the most recent census, there is a constitutional requirement for more TDs in this country. Whether or not Donegal were to get an extra TD, or whether or not Donegal would be united as a single county, either one or two constituency, I don't think we fully know that yet. Independent Councillor Michael McClafferty has been commenting on this and joins us on the programme now. Morning, Councillor, how are you?
Morning, very good, thanks. Yourself?
Okay, right. So, do you think we need more TDs? Let's focus on Donegal. Do you think Donegal needs more TDs?
Well, I think, Greg, to be fair, if it's going to the census, if it's going to turn out that way, that the opportunity is there to get another TD or so, I mean, we may as well get it. For example, we're only going to gain what we were already lost anyway. Such the last election, they're losing TDs the way things changed. So I mean, if there's any opportunities going forward for any man or woman that wishes to, or them that wish to throw their hat into the ring going forward, new candidates, I believe it should be, because I think the way things are at the minute, Greg, to be fair, as you touched on there, the SNAs, the doctors, the nurses, everything else. I agree with all that, Greg. And I would hope, like I said to Carolyn yesterday with the conversation, I says, regardless who throws their hat into the ring, as long as their heart is in the right place with Donegal behind them, it couldn't possibly do any more harm to have an extra voice, an extra Donegal jersey or two up in the toilet especially at the table as such.
Do you think? What? I mean, like, we're talking about a serious amount of cash here to provide another TD. I mean, we can't just throw money at it. We can't say, well, sure, if we can have another one, why not? I mean, what advantage do you think might it be to Donegal to have another TD up there?
Well, it might be an advantage, Greg, in the sense that, and it's not just for throwing cash at it. I mean, it's geographically thing the way it's going to turn out. We may gain one, we may not. Other counties may gain or so on. But according to the census, it's going to turn out that way, possibly in the future, that there want to be extra ones, regardless what county they're in. So the way I would look at it, if we can get any extra voices fighting for Donegal, all the better. Because, for example, like, unless I've missed it, we're in the age here at the moment now of having in the region of 14,000 Ukrainians going here, which we welcome as such. We know all
in Donegal?
I believe so, yes.
No, I think it's the figure's 1,600.
Well, apologies, 14,000 altogether in Ireland and 1,600 in Donegal. But setting that aside, the point I'm getting to is even with the 1,600 for Donegal, we welcome them all. But for example, like, there's been no word, unless I've missed it, and I don't believe I have, there's been no word for expansion of the hospital, no extra beds, no extra doctors, and our health service, like, no extra word of teachers, SNAs, no extra word of extra hours for the teachers of school to accommodate these people for various needs that they're going to have accordingly. So, I mean, that's the thing I see about it. That's what I see about it. So if it means...
If four TDs aren't delivering that, who's to say 5 will?
Well, Greg, it's a fair point, all right. But maybe the first, what would be needed to
maybe change one of the 4.
Well, that could happen regardless anyway. When the time comes, who knows? When the general election comes, that may be the case.
4 or 5? No, it's 5. Sorry, we currently have 5, don't we? We do have 5. Listen, but a lot of the problems that you talk of there, and everyone can, I think, relate to what you're saying. We need all of the stuff that you talk of, but I just wonder if the people of this county feel that it will ever come. You know, if it's
Greg, it needs to come. I hear what you're saying and understand what you're saying, but look, we have to keep the spirits up. I know at the minute now with the inflation and everything else and all the going on, everything is deflated as such, pardon the pun, but that's what actually is happening out in the ground. For anybody out in the ground, you know that yourself. You're up in the country yourself, living rurally. You know yourself what's going on. You hear it all the time. You hear it through your job as a radio station, obviously. Like, we have to keep on fighting. We can't just give up. And I think that's going to be the key element here going forward.
Do you not think, though, we would need more sort of reform of the Dáil and the Seanad and their functions and how they're elected and who they represent and how they represent, rather than just saying, right, the population has increased, let's put more of them in there. You know, I mean, I think an argument or a case has to be made as to what that might actually achieve, other than creating a few more well-paid jobs. TD's performances can be hit and miss. I think we've got quite active TDs in our county. I'm not criticising them as such, but rather than sort of saying, well, we need more because the Constitution says so, should we not be having a conversation about how the Dáil works, how attendance works, how voting works, how the funding of it works, how accountability works? You know, what's the function of the Seanad? I know that's been sort of determined by but there's a lot of Seanad reform that was promised that hasn't come to pass. So instead of getting more people in there, let's try and get what's working in there working, or what's in there working.
That's the problem, Greg, to be fair, with respect to your point. What's in there at the minute is not working.
Yeah, but you have to tell me your view, right, Michael? You don't have to tell me, sorry, and I mean this respectful. Your view is that if the country needs more TDs, well, let's have more TDs. But I expect you to tell me why you feel that's the case. Do you know what I mean?
What I'm saying, why I feel that's the case, we need more new faces in there to bring about reform, to ask the hard questions. Because what's there at the minute, in my eyes, I know in my own personal opinion, the whole thing's getting too comfortable. and nobody wants to rock the boat another. We have the three parties sitting there at the minute now who form a government, and one's afraid to say anything out of place in case it annoys the other, in case the government collapses. And as a result, then we're all suffering. For example, Eamon Ryan talked there about a turf ban there some weeks ago, and albeit it's all phased away, but not entirely. Not entirely phased away, because I haven't made contact yet, but a person's made contact with me from another country, a journalist like yourself, and they want me to do an interview with them. They're actually from France, so it hasn't actually faded away that way. So it says to me, when the French are taking an interest in what's going on in Ireland, if we were in France, a lot of the stuff that's going on here would reform one thing another, cuts inflation, so on, it will be challenged there, and we've seen that down through the years. And I think that's what's wrong here in Ireland at the minute. We don't stick together as such. Not totally together the way we should anyway on many aspects.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is there's many things that separate us. For instance, one of the key ones, I think, is an urban-rural divide. We live in two completely different countries. We have people in cities with access to public transport, maybe more modern housing, better insulated housing. And then we have us who live out in the country and all the challenges we face. I think, you could ask an awful lot of people maybe around Dublin about life in Donegal or how we live our life, and it would be completely alien to them. They probably have more in common with the people of Paris than they do with Donegal.
They probably have, Greg, all right, and that's a fair enough point due to the city status. But also the people in Dublin as well, and various other cities, may not have been to Donegal yet to know what it's like to experience down here. And that's the thing that annoys me. There are rules made in Dublin with either the TDs, the government, the civil servants, more so the civil servants. I understand makes a lot of the rules, and then it's through onto the TDs. The TDs throw it in the government, then they debate it, close the door, that's it, shut. And these people don't even realise what impact it's having on ourselves here in Donegal, various other rural counties along the western seaboard. And that's what makes me angry with the whole thing, Greg. And especially there, as I say, point out there, Eamon Ryan, for example. I wonder, has he actually ever been to Donegal to see what's going on down here? Mm-hmm. It's okay inflicting rules in Dublin, talking about rules in Dublin, but works in Dublin, Greg, does not work in Donegal. We don't have the Lewis down here. We don't have the train to step on either if we wish to. Such we're damn lucky here in Donegal. We have all the various bus operators we have here in West Donegal that serve the whole county as such, alongside Bus Éireann and that then and the Kenny and so on, and various other buses there.
Could you live without a car?
No.
Well, the bus services aren't great then, are they? I know that your local companies are doing as much as they can, don't get me wrong.
They're great for the people that don't have a car. They're great for the people who can't. I'm lucky, I have a car, yes.
Yeah,
I work that
so do I.
So as everybody else.
Yeah, but I'm saying is we couldn't live without our cars.
No, we couldn't live without our cars. But at the same time, in the same token, Greg, we couldn't live either without our local bus services. The ones
they're
that we
fantastic,
have.
I get you. Yeah, and they
are fantastic, yes. Yeah. And actually, for a lot of the West Donegal here, where I live, and possibly up your own corner there as well, only for them, we wouldn't have education down here because we wouldn't be able to get to the colleges and so on in the various cities only for that. And that's the thing as well. And then you have the Green Party, and if they get the way, they're looking to close down the rural counties. That's the reality of it. For example, now, this year alone, I'm hearing of these days where people was buying 3-4 bags of coal a week. They're only buying 1 bag of coal at the minute because that's all they can afford, Greg. God help them when it comes to September time when the temperatures change.
Well, ironically, have you ever seen as much turf cut as being cut right now? I mean, I'm seeing bogs with turf stacked on them now that I haven't seen turf on in years. Ironically, because people...
Well, of course they are. The pressure's on. It's the price of oil, the price of coal. It's a natural fuel for those who wish to use it.
There'll be a lot of wood and turf burnt in Donegal this winter.
Oh, definitely. So unfair play to them all, cut away. I totally agree with it. We are in a real crisis, Greg. We're in a housing crisis. We're in a medical crisis. We're in a fuel crisis. And again, the boys in Dublin are not paying attention, because if they were paying attention, they would do something about it. They would instruct powers that be. Look, these people are suffering. We need to do something. They're doing nothing.
You're making a strong argument yourself for us not needing more TDs. Do you still think we need more TDs?
We need a TD or two in there that's alongside the ones in there that are arguing to argue the point stronger for Donegal, Greg. That's what we need to do, to be fair. That's what we need to do. We have a lot of TDs there, right? But to be honest, I question, are they all fully active for the county with respect to them all? And I do question that, because I think there are a lot of things going on, particularly the housing crisis, the fuel crisis, as I said, touched on there at the beginning. Certainly 100% of the Kenny Hospital, that whole campus, or the Kenny Hospital, Connell's, the whole thing around there. Why, for example, can somebody not make the decision to the left hand of the road there going down, all St. Connell's right? Why can somebody not make a decision, get all that revamped, get it utilised, get it into use, help the hospital along, get more rooms, more beds, whatever.
I mean, maybe the petrol pump politics has got us where we are. Maybe we do need sort of to not elect people just to fight for their own particular area, that we need to elect people that will come up with a national vision for this country, that balances rural and urban life, rather than a series of people battling for their own corners. Maybe that's what the problem is.
Well, it may well be, Greg, but I suppose at the end of the day, you always hear the story, and you always hear the usual story, all politics are local. And I suppose that's the track that everybody's fallen into, I suppose, in every county. But there's nothing to stop them fighting national and fighting rural as well, fighting local as well. There's nothing to stop them doing the two things.
Right.
There's plenty of them there. There are 160 or so of them there. It's 160, I think, even at the minute. And they need to do more and fight more.
Right, okay, but you think there should be more of them to do that?
Well, if the opportunity arises, Greg, I'm not saying that there should be more. If the opportunity arises for ourselves, I'm speaking of our own county here, if we get an opportunity to get another one or so elected to help the county, yes, providing, Greg, their heart is in the right place. I don't want to see anybody going up the road for the sake of grabbing a fat wage away up the road and just, once you go past Lifford Bridge, bye-bye, Donegal.
Who's your political hero, then? Is that a fair question to ask?
I don't have one, to be honest with you. I'm a floating voter. I'm a neutral.
Yeah, no, it wasn't to get your political persuasion, but do you look around the country and say that's what we need in Donegal?
The Hilly Rays, yes, the Hilly Rays.
I can't believe I had to drag that out. I can't believe I had to drag that out of you. It's exactly what you were talking about.
We need the likes of them in Donegal, because unless we have the Hilly Ray approaching Donegal, unless our TDs can start to put on black caps, we're in trouble. That's because you go down Kerry, they seem to get everything they want. And why can we not do the same in Donegal? Why TDs can just not start arguing, fight the toss for Donegal, get our hospital in order, get the medical centres in order, get everything that's promised, instead of talking about things. And we always be careful of this one. A statement will come out. You need to watch the language of the statement. How's it worded? What way the sentence is put? The devil's always in the detail.
Yeah,
we need to get away from this kind of stuff.
Okay, listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Do you agree with Councillor Michael McClafferty? Get your texts in now. We'll read them for you in the morning. Probably a little late in the show today now. 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts. 086 60 25,000. Or call 074 91 25,000. Grania Hines on Facebook believes there's too many TDs already. Where is the money being made from windmills going? We're being told there's no oil or coal and the prices are so high, yet there are windmills all over Donegal and Ireland. Can someone make it make sense, please? Because I do not understand at all. We don't really generate... the biggest wind farm in the country, at least it was, is shut down at the moment because of EU ruling. The planning application wasn't correct to begin with. It's sitting there being serviced, not operating. And the ESB have shut it down, even though it's actually making more money than the European fine is, but they've decided to shut it down. Don't know what's going on there. Right, okay. Listen, thank you all of you who listen to the programme, watch the programme, text in, however you engage with us. It's very much appreciated.